Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Batman Spoilercast. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me this evening is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. DJ, thanks for joining me for this one and helping to mod comments, because I think we're going to have lots and lots of questions on this movie, and I know you also will have lots of things to say about it.
Yeah, I saw this movie this time. I usually don't get to do these spoiler casts, so I'm excited about it. And I will take all your questions. I'm logged in as the welder right now, so start shooting those questions at me in the chat, and I'll start writing them down and feed them to the captain soon.
Thanks, man. Yeah, at the Welder or at DJ Martinez, he'll see hopefully either of those. Also, this evening, guesting for the first time on a spoiler cast is my good buddy Kareem. Kareem is a big Batman fan, and I've been wanting to have him talking more about Batman stuff for a while. So I thought of him for this one, and was like, yeah, this is the right place to break him in on this whole spoiler cast thing. So Kareem, thanks for taking the time out to do it, man.
It's good to be back.
And
I'm fond of Batman. He's okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I had it in my head that you were a bigger Batman fan than maybe you are.
Then why do you have so much Batman stuff behind you?
Just right behind him. Just all this Batman stuff.
He has a point.
You are more of a Superman guy than a Batman guy, right?
No, I'm messing with you. I'm totally Batman.
And
I love Superman too.
You completely threw me off with that whole thing. I was like, Kareem's a big Batman. He's like, no, I'm not. Why am I even here? And also, my son Jayson is joining us, and that might seem like a counterintuitive move, because this is not a movie for children, but that's part of the reason I wanted to have Jayson here, to get that kid perspective, and he's right on the cusp of 13. He's almost 12, and this is a PG-13 movie, so having somebody that's right at that line I thought would be interesting tonight, and he's seen it twice with me, and did the How We Felt About with me, and a couple of our other panelists that were supposed to be here tonight were not able to make it, unfortunately. Which is not a huge deal, I guess, because I've been doing smaller groups with these lately anyway, for the sake of time, if nothing else. But Austin was supposed to be here and wasn't able to make it, and the same thing happened with Dan. Both of those guys were really excited to make it, so I was like, that's fine, we'll just have as many people as want to be here. And then they didn't end up making it anyway, so I was like, well, we've got some extra spots, so let's let Jayson pop in with us. And Jayson and I have already given our initial first impressions on this movie. We did that Wednesday with the early showing, and we've not heard it all yet from Kareem and DJ, so we're going to let you guys do your immediate walking out thoughts and best thing, worst thing, if you would. And then after that, and I really promise I'm really going to do it like this time, we're just going to take questions for the rest of the time. We'll go for a couple of hours tonight if people have enough they want to ask us about during that period, and if we don't get to everything you guys want us to get to, it's your fault. I'm sure there will be, I'm kidding, I'm sure there will be some bits where we'll segue into some other topics a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I really want to let the audience direct the conversation. This is a 3-hour movie. It's dense, there's a lot of stuff there, and any aspects or opinions you want to ask us about, obviously full-on spoilers, anything you want to know, anything you want to talk about, we will talk about. But let's go ahead and start with Kareem, since he is our guest co-host this evening, and find out how he felt, first impressions. Kareem, first of all, have you seen this the one time, or did you get a chance to go again?
I saw it twice.
Okay, cool. So after 2 viewings, now that you've got even a better sense of it, what are your immediate reactions and best thing, worst thing?
Immediate reactions would be, this is the most authentic Batman experience relating to the comics. It's 85 years the character's been here, and finally we get the detective Batman, which is my favorite thing about the whole movie, is the detective procedural mood and the tone, the ambiance. Bruce Wayne's finally a detective. We get a detective story. I would say, if I had to pick a flaw, the movie feels like it's doing like a tightrope balance act, where it's trying to be gritty, realistic in places, and it's trying to be heightened and exaggerated with the dialogue, with just the way the characters are like archetypes. It's trying to be this really neo-noir, like, throwback thing, and I feel like it muddies it up a little bit in the third act. And some of it's just awkward, like, I guess we'll get into it, but just it ticks me out. Like, why does Batman have to walk into everything why can't he just be a ninja like he always is? And I don't know. It's just it's some parts of it is just it's too realistic, and it's trying to be a throwback of Nolan. I'm thinking of the scene where he's like afraid of heights for some reason, and other parts is just like I wanted to lean more into the lunacy of Batman. Like I want it to be more exaggerated. I want it to be more comic book. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think it has a bit of flaws, but I'm really digging the atmosphere and the mood.
DJ, where do you land on it, sir?
Yeah, so I am the only one here that has only seen it once. I saw it Friday, but I'm still riding the high because of that first viewing, because I really enjoyed this film. I felt like walking out of the theater, I was like, oh, as someone finally made a Batman movie for DJ. This is awesome. And I'm not a Batman
I just wanted you
guy.
to leave it there. I just walked out and I was like, oh!
No, like this felt like it was made for me. Even though I'm not a Batman guy, Riddler has always been my favorite villain in the Batman stuff I've seen. I'm a huge just like mystery and like, especially specifically like villains that are like messing with the person, like like Seven, and I mean all the David Fincher stuff that he's borrowing for this movie, and like those kind of like twists and turns. Like Scooby-Doo. I mean, even since I was a kid, I was a big Scooby-Doo fan. Like I've always been into this kind of stuff, and the Riddler was exactly what I wanted in this movie. And the fact that it was like a crime, like it was literally like a noir, like Cap said in his video. It was like the noir detective story, and like very little action. Because I usually zone out in like realistic action scenes. Like if it's like a fight scene or something, or like a Marvel or like some kind of special effects fight scene, I can stay with it. But if it's like a car chase or like just like a boring, like I don't know, like the Nolan action scenes lost me a little bit. But there's like no action scenes in this movie. He punches a couple guys, and then at the end there's one. But I was like, wow, what? I was so shocked that there was so little action in this, and it was so like slowly paced and just deliberate. And I don't know, it caught me off guard. I was not expecting that. I was actually expecting it to be more comic booky, like Kareem was. And the fact that it went so realistic with it was really interesting to me. My best thing would have to be the visuals. I'm a visual guy. That's my thing. This is easily the best looking Batman movie we've ever had. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Every scene is placed and positioned so well. The cinematography is amazing. And I could talk more about that later. But if I have to give a worst thing, very specific worst thing, is that final scene with Riddler. I hated that so much, that cameo scene. I mean, I guess the spoiler cast, we could talk about it.
I second that.
That Joker's.
It seems like the more I'm talking to people, everybody's pretty unanimous on that.
Yeah, that took me out so hard.
Everybody but Jayson is unanimous on that. Yeah, well, that was the scene that most felt like it was for kids, I guess. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it was
like, look, okay. It's the Joker, kids. He's coming.
It's like, again. The Joker is here, and he said, "Riddle me this." Like, that's kind of cool. That he said that instead of Riddler, which I mean, because he's talking to Riddler, so it makes sense. If he's just saying that, I'm like, what?
But
it kind of remind me of the Telltale games. How the Joker is in that.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that as well. And there's a lot of Telltale in this movie in general.
Oh, yeah.
Just the notion of Bruce's parents maybe being corrupt is a thing that starts there, except it takes it to the nines. And I thought this movie might go there. And one of the big twists, of course, is that Bruce Wayne's father was involved with Falcone, but he's not actually really corrupt, and there's kind of a misunderstanding with the whole thing. And in some ways, and I could see people having a problem with this, it won me over on it. In some ways, it tries to have its cake and eat it too as a reinvention, where it's kind of doing its own version of certain things and reinventing them a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's pretty traditional and classic also, where it's like, well, maybe Thomas Wayne had this like relationship with Falcone and asked him to have someone killed, and it wasn't that he wanted someone killed. Falcone just did that to have something over him. Okay, so he's actually still the good person and philanthropist that we always had, but he made this one mistake. And then you've got things like I forget where I was going with that. So you had, well, anyway, I can't, I don't remember where I was going.
Well, like I think you were talking about like Thomas Wayne potentially being corrupt, but I had a thing where I think it works for the most part with the movie, but it's a bunch of inspirations you can tell.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned it before. There's Telltale. They're using Year One. They're using Long Halloween. Ego. They're using Earth One. I found like that was their main source.
Right.
And sometimes I think the inspirations can like tangle each other because Earth One, 0 Year, and Year One are all Batman origin stories that do very different things.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's cherry picking stuff from all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I had problems with like, okay, this is Batman's Year Two, and we all know as comic book fans, people think Batman is not a dude, like he's like a demon or a ghost or something. But every now and then, like criminals will laugh at him, or they'll just treat him like a guy in a suit, and it's just very confusing for like what
That's
the film
a really
is going.
good point. Yeah.
I thought the opening scene was like, oh, that's really well done. Like they're afraid to even go in the shadows.
How effective is he actually at putting fear in the hearts of criminals? And sometimes he is, and sometimes he isn't. Which in some ways is maybe kind of realistic, I guess. Where like I might buy that some random thug on the street would be more scared of him than say Falcone or the Penguin or something.
Right.
Yeah, but those scenes were like stacked right after each other, like Kareem was saying. Like the spray paint kids were like terrified of him as soon as the light came up. But then the next scene, like the clown thugs were like making fun of him and laughing at him, like who's this guy? Like I was a little surprised.
That wasn't. Yeah, that was just thugs on the street. Yeah.
And I think that what I'm trying to say is like the Earth One Jeff Johns story that has that where people just laugh at him and it's just like not really a thing. But the incontinuity, like Year One and Long Halloween. Criminals are afraid. They don't want to go out at night. And sometimes I feel like those inspirations that they're pulling from like contradict each other.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Let's go ahead and start jumping into questions pretty quick. DJ, if you want to make sure that your question or topic about this movie is discussed, of course, you can leave a super chat at any dollar amount, and we'll be going to regular comments until we see some more of those. I think we had a couple at the beginning before we, quite a while before we even started recording. But let me say this real quick while we're waiting for DJ to grab a couple of those. And then I will try to remember what that other example was I was trying to think of a minute ago.
It'll come back to you.
It will.
Just like a batarang.
Right, and I've only got the one, and it's right here. But things.
Wait for the sequel.
In the sequel, the chest will be out a lot farther, and he'll have like 5 behind him. It'll be like Connect 4. But anyway, so. I had some other example of a thing. Man, I wish I could remember that. Where the movie keeps reinventing things, but also says it's still, traditional straight Batman that you've always known. But anyway, I said in How We Felt About that this might end up supplanting Batman Begins as my favorite Batman movie. And having seen it a second time and noodling it more, regretfully, I have to say I'm not there yet. I like Kareem said, the tone of this is a more comic booky thing a lot, and you guys are absolutely right that it's both. Or Kareem, what you said earlier, like I see why DJ kind of contradicted you. What I liked about it was that it was realistic, and Kareem, what I liked about it is that it wasn't. I
liked about it is that it was realistic.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's both, right? Like it feels real stylized in tone. It's going back to The Crow real hard. Somebody in the comments on How We Felt About today mentioned that, and that was a thought I had that I wish I had said. It's like the closest thing that you might ever get to an Alex Proyas Batman, and I really had that. I also thought that it watched a lot like the Schumacher movie that he wanted to make, because Schumacher wanted to make something based on Year One originally, and he was kind of put in a box and forced to make something more kid-friendly and a little more over the top, and so he just did the job that he was asked to do when he made Batman Forever and then Batman and Robin, and especially those first 10 minutes. Everybody keeps talking about how spectacular looking especially those first 10 minutes are, and like how Miller inspired all of that is with the kind of purple prose voiceover and all of that. the look of that, yeah, it's kind of poised, but it's also really Schumacher. Like, go back and look at his earlier, more like hard R works, and things like, or I guess just more adult stuff, is more street level stuff, like Lost Boys, like Flatliners, and like it looks like a Schumacher movie, and like that's really exciting to me. And like Kareem said, all the detective work stuff, and we've got a Penguin that is very comic booky and more mob bossy and all of that, and it's the feel I've always wanted for a Batman thing, and I'm still very impressed with how it manages to hobble all those things together but kind of have its own tone, which, you know, carve out its own identity. The Giacchino score helps that whole thing a lot also, and the Giacchino score is good. A really good parallel as a piece for the movie itself, because it does the same thing with music that the movie is doing, where you can see all of the different inspirations and specifically Batman things that is cribbing from, that it then creates a whole other thing. But it is weirdly, to me anyway, almost more of an origin story than Batman Begins is. And that's where I'm having a really difficult time considering it my favorite Batman thing right now, because it doesn't watch like Batman exactly until you get to the very, very end. It's another proto Batman. It's Casino Royale again.
I know, but good.
No, and it's great, and I really like it for that. But and you could say that's crazy. That maybe I'm just going with a technicality here. But here's the thing. I don't see myself going back and rewatching this as much as I do Begins. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I'm not saying I disliked it more on second viewing. I'm just saying that I'm solidifying my thoughts more. I feel like I need more in this world. And when I left Begins, I was going to be fine if I never got anything else. It's such a great piece all on its own. And this thing is tightly woven enough story-wise. I get why people are complaining that maybe it's too long, that some of the scenes drag some, that maybe it's not self-important like your Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises is, but in that runtime it might feel a little bit pretentious. Like, I get why people are saying that. It wrapped me up so much on a first viewing, I did not mind that. On a second viewing, I got why people were saying that, but it still didn't bother me. I am finding it difficult to be fully critical about that whole thing because I didn't want to leave, but that's part of the problem, is that I didn't want to leave. I have to have more of that world. I don't like, and there's no way to do it with the story they're telling. I don't want to rewrite the story. I don't get to see that guy put on a traditional Riddler suit of any kind, and he's going to. I can tell. You know what I mean? Like, it's a Riddler origin. At some point, he's going to become something closer to the Riddler we all know and love, probably. When I got to the end of Batman Begins, I had a full-on Scarecrow. I had a full-on Ra's al Ghul. I had a Batman that learned that vengeance and justice aren't the same thing in the first 15 minutes of the movie. And that's the whole character arc here. And it's great. I'm glad I have it. But it is Zero Year in every sense of that. He's not Batman yet, and so I have to now see what he's like as Batman. And in that way, it's not a single, it's a setup film. It's a really, really good one, but so Begins is an origin, this is a setup movie. In a way, Begins was not.
And if there is a really, really good sequel to this, you might never go back to this movie, because you get fully fledged.
Because I get everything I want, yeah. I mean, I probably still will some, but I mean, the weird thing with that is Dark Knight watches great in a vacuum. Like, I don't have to watch Begins when I go and watch Dark Knight. Like, I watch those separately for different reasons when I'm in different kinds of moods, kind of. But you're absolutely right. Like, if the next movie is the Dark Knight for this world, I'm not going to feel the need as much to go back and look at this, possibly. Anyway, I threw a lot out and opened a lot of can of worms.
I totally get that. I had the same thought, because Begins is also my favorite. And when I came out of the theater, I was like, I could see that passing Begins, but I don't know what the rewatchability of this movie is going to be because of everything you just said, but also because it's a detective story. And I don't know, like, that's part of the movie, is like you're on the ride with Batman.
Yeah.
How did that hold up on a second viewing for you guys? Because I'm also interested in that.
Let me say real quick, in certain ways, better, because I was able to see just how well things were seated and that it all really does come together pretty well. And in other ways, I wasn't as, entranced by it. And, it's impossible to have the same viewing twice of a thing, certainly. But Begins, every time I saw that movie, because it wasn't just about the plot twist at the end. You know what I mean? Like every time I saw that movie, it gave me similar feelings somehow. And this, it was like, second viewing, I'm appreciating the artistry of it more than I'm like with Batman as much as a character like I was first time around, because yeah, it keeps surprising me with answers to mysteries and throwing you off the beaten path. And I mean, there's like, you know, kind of 19 twists in this movie where it's like, oh, we thought we were going this way, but not, because Batman and Gordon are not really great detectives yet. But Kareem, what was the second viewing like for you?
As far as the mystery, I enjoyed it both times. I had what Cap had, where it's like, I want to live in this world. So my fiance and I are like, you want to see it again? And we saw it Friday and Saturday. But I think as far as what you guys are saying about the Christopher Nolan movies, it's important to like say that they're trying to do different things. You know, the Nolan movies, at least the first two, are trying to be these straight up crime dramas that happen to have Batman in them. And I feel like this is more, like I said, an authentic Batman experience where you're just following this detective, murder mystery, Seven, Zodiac, The Crow kind of thing. Also, I would say the thing that they're trying to do with this movie, I feel like, is take Earth 1, Year 1 Batman and make him 0 year Batman, which is very interesting. Because, you know, Frank Miller, Scott Snyder, both guys that are from New York. Frank Miller grew up in the 70s, 80s, and that was kind of the Gotham where Batman needed to be this creature of the night in the shadows that would punish criminals. And then Scott Snyder kind of reboots the Batman origin story and makes Batman more of a beacon of hope, which happens at the end of the movie. So I think it's really interesting that those origin stories transition Batman. And like Cap said, this is a setup movie. So I think it's confirmed this is the first one of a new trilogy.
Oh, it has to be now because it's doing so well.
Boo, don't say that. I hate that. Just say we're going to make some more movies. Why does everything have to be a trilogy? Quit it.
I think they confirmed it's a trilogy, but I don't know for sure.
At least they set it out the gate instead of making 3 movies and then when your director doesn't want to make any more after Rises and arguably possibly didn't even really want to make that, you go, it's the Nolan trilogy.
Hopefully they just mean a
the Dark
Reeves
Knight trilogy.
Hopefully they just mean a Reeves trilogy and then they'll get a new director but keep the movies going.
Yeah, because I think what they're establishing here is a definitive enough Batman world that there's no reason to leave it for a really good long time. I mean, they're making a big deal out of world building. They're greenlighting TV shows already.
Yep.
For a minute, I thought 3 and couldn't believe they were doing that many. And then it was confirmed today, Jayson, because you and I were talking about this earlier. Apparently, the GCPD show and the Arkham show are the same show, and it morphed. The GCPD thing morphed into the Arkham thing. And they clarified that today, but for some reason we're silly enough not to make that clear when when the news first came out. I mean, maybe it was just a leak thing where it's like, oh, there's this Arkham thing. Like, well, yes, yeah, it is Arkham, but it's also GCPD. So yeah, that's one show. There's a Penguin show, and then there's that show.
That's honestly the thing I have to say about this movie is like, I want more.
Yeah.
Like, to use your steak analogy from the Dark Knight review a couple of years ago,
hold on.
It's like somebody's like cooking an amazing steak and you just want it and they're just giving you appetizers.
It's absolutely
That's
like
great.
Homecoming where
You can smell the steak.
Where Homecoming set up the Spider-Man world perfectly. Let's hope this one follows up better than the Spider-Man
That's
world,
the thing too, because tell me if you guys agree with this. If Dark Knight had been awful, it probably doesn't really do that much to begins. You're not going to have that here. If the next movie sucks, it's going to be difficult to appreciate this on the same level as I'm appreciating it now, potentially. Especially depending on how it sucks exactly, because of the whole proto-Batman thing. Like, because you have a Batman who... I'm hearing people complain. I know Chewbacca's lover was talking about this before we started recording, and I know this question will come up. We can full-on tackle it later, I guess. But, like, some people are complaining that Batman doesn't actually save the day in this, that he doesn't... like solve any mysteries that he wasn't meant to solve, by the Riddler, and that all he really accomplishes at the end of the day is saving some people from drowning. And if that bugs you, and then, because I didn't honestly really even think about that until he said it, and I think the reason that it didn't occur to me is because there's a big status quo shift at the end and Falcone dies, but he's not even responsible for that any more than he is anything else, because Riddler also set him up to do that too, and he's not the one that kills him. Not that I would want him to do that, but I'm just saying, like, he doesn't kill him, and he gets him out into the light so that Riddler can be a sniper. Like, okay, but like, if that bothers you, and then the next movie he also seems kind of incompetent, or it's like, or he's really bad at solving a mystery, or it's just not a good movie, it might hurt this more for people.
Well, I think it's a huge testament to the writing and how good the riddle writing and like the whole mystery is, that he wasn't able to solve anything, but he doesn't seem incompetent. Like, he still seems like a super smart guy, DJ. Even though Riddler's one step ahead of him the whole time, which I loved. It was great.
Jack Napier says, disagree, other movies don't affect how much I love a single movie. If that were true, Dark Knight Rises would ruin Dark Knight for me. But it just, for me, it depends on what kind, it's a depends question. It depends on what kind of a franchise we're talking about, because Dark Knight Rises, well, and honestly, to certain degrees, that movie did actually hurt Dark Knight for me a little bit, because when you get to the end of that movie, Dark Knight Rises seems to say that the ending of that is saying something different than I thought it was when I'm watching that, so I have to kind of look at it in a vacuum. But those movies still, by and large, live as separate pieces more than some other franchises, and I imagine that this could be one of those cases where this is kind of one narrative that continues going more than being real separate things, or maybe not. Maybe it'll be a little column A and a little column B. I guess I don't know that for sure. But if they're immediately going, we're going to make 3, but then there's no telling how much time passes after this, and if Riddler will be one of the major villains in the next movie, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's fair, Jack Napier. It's too early to say, I suppose.
Yeah. We have the No Man's Land 0 year status quo at the end of this.
Yep.
Which is very interesting. And of course, Riddler's the big villain for 0 year.
I mean, obviously more 0 year than No Man's Land, just because we didn't bust the bridges. Yeah. And I mean, I guess we do that in 0 year too, now that I think, don't we? I can't remember. It's been too long since I've read that.
I don't think so.
But yeah, it's that way in the sense that, like, now you got the power grab thing, and the villains are probably going to slice up territories and that sort of thing. But there's probably not power outages. You didn't have a bunch of people leave the city. Yeah. Batman himself is staying. Like it is a different sort of status quo. But I'm with you, Kareem. I wonder if we'll live in that at all, or if things will be, more or less put back together at the.
Ooh, I would hate that
when we get to the next movie. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
But also, the TV shows could be where they're planning on really dealing with all of that and leaving Batman out of it. I don't know how I feel about that either. But
that's true.
The TV shows will be like, remember that incident? The incident that happened.
I think the thing about Batman being incompetent and falling for the Riddler and not overcoming and saving the day can again be attributed to Earth 1, where he's like in over his head and it's not really affecting much change. But also I think they're trying something different, because the elephant in the room, or the bat in the room, if you will, is the Christopher Nolan Batman movies are like genre defining superhero movies, and they're following up with this. So they kind of want to do something different, where it's not the post 9/11 war on terror soldier Batman. It's the very much pandemic Batman, where there's random violence, there's disasters. He's got a chip on his shoulder. It's angst. Crime is up, social unrest, and I like that they don't get in your face about modern issues in politics like that, and are able to tell a organic story that's authentic to the comic books.
Yeah, but it is still about current social stuff happening, obviously. and especially politically, and the idea of a system that is broken. How do you fix that? How do you keep your humanity and morality intact at all when you try to tackle that? Because Riddler is the like terrorist answer to that, and Batman's like, oh no, I've inspired terrorism. That's not what I meant to do. I think, since we're there, I think where I'm coming down on it, at least at the moment, the more I've thought about it with regards to Batman's incompetence in this, is his heart's not in the right place, and the motivations are off, and he doesn't realize that, and it's affecting his effectiveness. So, like, obviously he's good at stuff. He's very intelligent. I can't begin to tell you why he's so good at puzzles. I don't know. I don't know why he's so good at solving riddles. He's got that kind of standard, I'm Batman thing, where it's like, somebody's got to say the answer to this riddle. Batman knows what it is. He's read the script in these scenes, but you've got a Batman.
I did like that he got one of the main riddles wrong, though.
Yeah, no, good call. The URL thing is brilliant, by the way. That is some good riddle.
That whole thing with the birds,
yes,
because there's so many different characters that could apply to in Batman's universe. That was amazing.
Yeah, it is weird that nobody thought of Bat before that, and Penguin looks like the smartest man on the pier or whatever, where he's like, dude, it sounds like a freaking bat. Like, you're dumb. How'd you not think of that? And as soon as somebody said rat with wings, I'm like,
Spanish.
That was amazing. That was dying.
You don't know the difference between L and La. It's so good, but like,
that makeup is insane.
Because Bat was the first thing I thought of, but then so I was like, oh come on, you're stupid, Batman. But then it turned out to not be Bat, and I was like, oh okay, never mind.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that anybody that's ever looked at a Batman thing at all, the first thing they're going to think of when you say rat with wings is Bat, and it's a little weird that he doesn't say that. Now I get that Pattinson's Batman has not read all the Batman stuff I've read, or watched all the Batman stuff I've watched, but it is a little, and that's one of those places, Kareem, where for really no fault of the movie, you're stuck with too much history of this character. Like you're gonna run into traps like that. There's no way around it. Where it's like, okay, do we have to have Batman and Gordon think of that just because we've thought about bats as rat with wings? The only reason we've had that thought is because of Batman. Yeah. So like,
that's what the whole movie, right? Like, a lot of people are complaining that this isn't very original, but it's like, how do you make everything original when there's been how many Batman movies?
He's the most popular.
So many Batman movies.
It is simultaneously really original and really derivative. It's very strange.
And that's my problem with it.
There's kind of, and I'm not sure how exactly you get around it, because it's like my favorite thing ends up being sort of my least favorite thing, right? Where you've got, like, I love how great of a love letter it is to Batman lore without being like pandery to fans and feeling like it's just fan service for the sake of fan service, right? Where it's this melting pot of Batman stuff. But at the same time, the approach in the storytelling, in the plotting specifically, seems to be Matt Reeves going, let's pretend like nobody's ever made a Batman movie before.
Yeah.
And boy, I have so much respect for that. But at the end of the day, I can't help but go, yeah, of course it was Falcone. Like, it's almost a letdown, but that's, like, all roads are leading there, and I didn't call it, and I should have called it, but then I was kind of let down by it. I don't know that this is anybody's fault.
Yeah, and when you get to the part where where I love that he has that conversation with the Riddler about the masks, I love that scene, but then it's like, but we've talked about Batman not being the mask in like so many Batman movies.
Yeah.
It feels old, but I'm
vengeance, but I'm not supposed to be vengeance. Like we've obviously dealt with that a lot before. It's all repackaged.
It's like he wanted to make the definitive version because we've never had it, and he didn't care.
Yeah, and that's where I get off saying he's pretending like we've never put Batman on screen before.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And
then we've got to start getting to questions here.
Does the Riddler know Bruce Wayne is Batman?
No.
No, I don't think he cares. I don't even think he.
No, on a second viewing, it's made very, very clear that is the case, Kareem. And I wondered that first time around too. He's not interested in that. But B, he goes, people keep. He can't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman because if he did, he wouldn't have tried to kill Bruce Wayne because Batman is his idol.
I guess so. I was wondering if he
because he was like
know,
the only thing we didn't the only thing Batman, my partner, because he thinks that he's made him his partner, that we didn't get checked off our list was kill Bruce Wayne.
Kill Bruce Wayne. Yeah, I was wondering because it was a little sloppy how he planned to kill Bruce Wayne versus how he killed all the other people. Like he literally stalked them. So I was wondering if he
then he
did
just
know.
like Captain Hooks it and throws him a bomb in a letter, and then he hopes.
Yeah.
Everything about the way he handles Bruce Wayne is inconsistent with everything before, because he announces who he's going after and keeps talking about Bruce Wayne before he tries to kill him. I get maybe because he's already set up the letter bomb or whatever, but it's weird, right? Because everybody else, it was like they're dead and now I'm talking about them, and then it was like, oh, Bruce Wayne, like, why are you giving Batman or Gordon or anybody else a chance to try to stop that? Maybe because you think it's foolproof because you put it in the mail, but like that's sticky. I don't know.
He's a rich person. He has servants that can probably open his mail for him.
That easily could have happened given the woman that answers the phone.
It could have been the old lady that got blown up.
Yeah, it could have been not Aunt Harriet.
I was wondering if we were
because that was not Aunt Harriet, by the way.
I also felt like what's his face was dumped down in that scene where I'm like, why are you slowly? You know, it's the Riddler's font or the Riddler's handwriting. Why are you opening this package? I felt like he was a little dumbed down in that scene too.
That was a little sloppy.
What, Alfred?
Yeah.
I thought you said what's his face. I'm like, you couldn't think of Alfred? Oh, okay, fair enough. Sorry.
I really like.
I was actually. Wondering
he's great.
If we were doing the Joker thing where the Joker knows Bruce Wayne is Batman but doesn't care, and the Riddler was like, because you're Batman, you're redeemed from all that. Because it was really heavy-handed to me, that scene where he's just like, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So my problem with that whole thing is that it's kind of just for the audience. And like looking back through it, I really like it thematically. I really like Riddler as the anti-Bruce Wayne, and that like his idol. This is so classic Shakespearean stuff. Like his with like mistaken identity, right? His idol is Batman, but the person he hates the most is Bruce Wayne. He's almost like Riddler and Hush at the same time, and
which is funny because he looks like Hush.
Yeah, and then we also reference Hush, and the person that that Thomas Wayne accidentally got killed was an Elliot, and I'm assuming Tommy Elliott's father, and then Hush is in a big word on the screen with the newspaper. I don't know if you caught that, and but anyway, when you watch it again and you see all the things leading up to the audience thinking that Riddler must know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and Batman thinking that too, where like there are a couple places where he very easily could have accidentally outed himself, right? Like when he's there with Gordon and he's like, I think this is the end of the Batman, and then Gordon's like, why? And it's a good thing you didn't say anything, because Riddler doesn't actually know that you're Batman. And then he's got that look on his face with the taunting with the Riddler in the prison where Riddler just keeps going, Bruce Wayne. He's got this look that clearly, if Riddler was paying any attention to, clearly says, crap, you've got me, you know. And then luckily he did, because he easily at any point could have been like, oh man, you found me out. But like he never says anything. And then you realize, wait a minute, there's all these. This is maybe my least favorite thing in the movie now, the more I'm talking about it. You realize that there's all of these things leading up to him doing that, where like where the movie's trying to tell you Riddler has figured this out and he's putting the things together. Jayson, you mentioned the thing with on the wall where he's like, why does he have all these links?
Yeah, and he's like, I know who you are.
Yeah, and there's setup and payoff for all of that. Like, we get into that, and the movie is really trying to sew up all of its loose ends. Where because he says that again. He's like, well, first of all, there's the see you in hell thing. Because at first, like, all the way to that point, I'm thinking Riddler knows Bruce Wayne is Batman, because before Batman opens it up, see you in hell. I know you're Batman, I'm trying to kill you. Oh wait, that wasn't the case. And see you in hell meant he's doing the Dark Knight Joker thing. He knows he's going to go in prison, and that Batman will go there and see him. Okay, like, it's all wrapped up in a bow, but it's a little easy. And so I'm like, okay, Riddler wasn't actually trying to find out that Bruce Wayne is Batman or know that he was, and all of that is just the movie telling, like making the audience guess at it, to the point where the trailer made you think it was giving away Riddler knowing that.
Oh, I didn't see. Yeah, that's the thing that's what I'm worried about rewatchability, right? Because when he's saying I know who you are, he's saying because I know that you are Batman. That's who you really are. The mask is who you really are. But they're setting all that stuff up for the audience to freak out and think that he knows who Batman is.
Yes.
So that stuff's not going to play on a second viewing because you know what he's talking about. So yeah.
But also, I'm just not totally sure I buy that he would put it in those terms if there's not an audience watching, where you're trying to create the drama of he might figure out Batman's identity. Because, again, that's really interesting thematically, when he's like, I know who you are, meaning the mask is more important than the person underneath it, and Riddler desperately trying to be that, but he can't, because he is through and through Edward, no matter what crazy nutso, serial killer mask he puts on. And that's why when he, later on after this movie, is going to go back, if we ever see him again, goes back up against Batman, there's no way he's wearing a mask again. Because he's past that whole thing now. Like, he hates Batman. He's going to want to be the opposite of Batman now. And like, it's a really cool origin story for the Riddler to get him closer to something traditional.
And
well,
he's very. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, you go ahead.
It's very much the extreme narcissist Edward Nygma or Eddie Nashton compulsive disorder where he can't help himself, and the world should look at me and I should be remembered.
That's what I was going to say is I could maybe buy him doing that even if there is no audience. He just has to do that because the only person he cares about seeing his stuff is the Batman. The whole movie is trying to impress the Batman. So maybe that stuff on his wall is just to literally make the Batman.
But here's the problem with it. Sorry, go ahead.
Why is he Nashton?
Because it's the thing Kareem's talking about where it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to be a really stylized comic book, but also wants to be realistic. So Edward Nygma is going too far.
Well,
according to this movie.
Edward Nygma's, like, one of his names is Nashton in the comics.
That's true, early on, yeah. But
I agree with you.
But I still think it comes from that motivation because, and maybe this was the thing I was gonna mention early on that I had a brain freeze and couldn't remember. You also have the same thing with Oswald Cobblepot, where it's like they got to call him Oz because that doesn't sound modern. It's kind of weird.
And why does he have an Italian street mobster accent? Isn't Cobblepot an English name, or I don't know.
Well, maybe that's because in this he's not Cobblepot, and then the real reason they got rid of his name is so that he could get away with that crazy accent. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. But
that makeup was amazing.
But DJ, yeah, it's brilliant, and I feel bad for him when he has to wear that regularly on a TV show. But
oh no.
But DJ, the reason you're right, like I really like the way the riddles play. As like an opposite thing from what we usually get with Riddler, but it's not cutesy, where you think that he's doing the standard traditional thing where he's letting Batman know parts of what he's doing to make things more challenging for him or whatever it is, and then it turns out that he's trying to make him his accomplice. That watch is great, by the way, on a second viewing, because police keep saying you seem like his accomplice, and Batman's like, no, I'm going against him. Oh wait, he's an unwitting accomplice. Okay, that stuff's great. But DJ, the problem is that it never occurs to Riddler, as smart as he is, chess player he is, manipulator moving 18 steps ahead, it never occurs to him that when Batman puts everything together, he will think that Riddler knows his identity. He would have to have that thought.
Interesting.
And that's the reason that doesn't work.
Well,
that Batman would think that?
Yeah,
I would
because Riddler seems because when they get into the jail cell and Riddler seems to be to us taunting him with the Bruce Wayne thing, that's not what he's doing, and it never occurs to him that Batman could take it that way. And yes, he doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but it is kind of weird that it doesn't seem to occur to him that Batman would think that he is tapped into the, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, though, because maybe you would have to know that Bruce Wayne was Batman to even have that thought. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
I thought he knew.
And you thought he knew.
We all had different experiences.
So can I talk about this movie a little bit?
Sorry, Jason.
No, it's fine. So second watch. Oh my gosh. This is my favorite Batman movie.
Oh, all of a sudden it's your favorite?
Yep. Wow. And I totally disagree with you on it needs a sequel. Even on the first watch, I felt like, okay, I really don't even want a sequel to this. like I know that it's gonna get it because of the whole Joker thing.
I totally agree that this feels like a mix of Riddler and Anarchy. That's totally right.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And I had a bunch of other things, but yeah, I feel like this is a really good like standalone movie that I could watch like once a year or something like that.
Wow.
Cool. I thought it was pretty watchable.
Very atmospheric, yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with DJ where I like how realistic it is because I haven't read very many comics, like especially in that era. So I don't know much of how those, like what those look like and stuff. But I feel like all of the phone stuff and the modern news stuff is kind of like funny, like especially when Batman has a video call with Riddler. I was laughing hysterically.
Why is that funny?
Stuff is great.
Just because it's kind of every day
so
and
terrifying.
Yeah, and
yeah, right.
no, but
Yeah.
in the it's really funny because the top left corner you have Batman like taking it like in his selfie camera, and it's
like
hilarious.
I want to clarify something because I feel like I'm being misrepresented. I wanted a really, really comic booky stylized movie. I liked this in spite of it. I didn't like it because it was realistic and not comic booky.
Okay,
I liked it
sure.
also as a different thing. But I was expecting this, like you, to be really comic booky and like Clayface universe. But I liked it in spite of.
But I will double down on what I said and how we felt about it. I still think any of that is possible in this world. I do. I think it can keep pulling
I'm
the curtain
unsure
back.
of that, and I don't like that I'm unsure.
Yeah.
What I mean is, Kareem, I don't know if they'll go to all those places, but if they did, I don't think internal logic-wise they can't get away with it.
Yeah.
So, I disagree with myself on how we felt about Riddler is amazing. He, like, he's comedic, he's freaking scary, he's dramatic, I don't know. He just had, they had, for me, they had such a different take on it, where it's like, and also, I really like the year 2 stuff. Cause I don't like the year, like, if, like, it did, like, year 1, stuff like that.
You like that
Begins.
it was early, but there was some history
early.
behind us?
Yeah. It was early, but it wasn't, like, Batman was in his suit more.
By the way, people that say that Batman doesn't accomplish anything, and I know this is maybe kind of a ridiculous argument because I know what most people are probably saying in this movie, in this story, but I think there's a good suggestion that even though he fails a lot in this, he's accomplished a decent amount up to this point, even if he hasn't, inspired the world and changed things the way he wants to. Keep in mind that the Joker is in Arkham, and Batman probably put him there.
Yeah. And I think they're going for, given that this is a detective, slow, procedural thing, they're going for more of an emotional aspect to the character. It's not this big thing where I have to inspire the city and thwart the criminal. Like, it's about Bruce's emotionality. Like, in the beginning, he's just, hey, my parents are killed. I'm pissed off, and I need to punish the... Like, they go as far as to say, I have to make myself watch everything I do every night.
Oh my gosh. The fact that he's just giving himself 100% to Batman and Bruce Wayne is just like a husk and not even a character.
And the fact that his family's legacy in the renewal is feeding the criminals. It found a way to freshly, like, inspire villains again. Like, Batman inspires his own villains. Like, that's a cool way to make Bruce Wayne do that.
Based on what you just said, I will say, I don't know if I might be the only one that had this. This is the only Batman movie that ever made me tear up.
Oh, interesting.
I've never had that before.
It made me tear up the first watch.
I mean, it's not the only one with me, but I did have that a little bit with this also. But Begins. I have that.
Begins.
And
For me, it was the Alfred scene.
BBS makes you tear up
makes you tear up.
from pain
it made you tear up.
It kicks me in the groin so many times. I'm crying
because of Doomsday. But
the first time I saw it, I did tear up because I finally got to see Death of Superman stuff on the screen, and then I wished I'd never divulged that information. Because you're just gonna hold it over my head forever, right? This is gonna be your version of the Thomas Wayne accidentally got someone killed thing. It's like, I'm gonna use this as blackmail.
So
Cap had tears of joy in BVS.
I don't agree with you that it's a setup movie.
Boy, this is like the 19th time you've said that to me.
Hot takes.
You don't think it's a setup movie?
Yeah.
But it is.
Okay, it's a setup movie, but it's not. It can be a single movie.
It stands on it by itself.
On its own.
I'm not,
okay.
and look, I'm not saying the story isn't entirely complete. I'm just saying that I personally need more, and did not feel like that with Begins, which is why it's hard for me to say that it's my favorite now. It is proto Batman. I can't say that I would get to the end of Casino Royale and I'd be okay with no more Bond with that version either, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm seeing
Ridley
a lot
Scott's
of complaints.
Well, what? And that's what I first. Well, actually, what I first said when I first watched Batman Begins is, I need more of this story. Like, I can't. I wanted to watch the next one. With the Batman, it's not really like that for me.
Sure.
Well, take this versus Dune. Like,
well, sure, but that's a whole other
first
animal.
First part of a book, though.
It's a whole other animal, yeah.
But still.
Of course you're going to need more of that.
But again, I wasn't saying it was a big cliffhanger. The story's not done.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, DJ, let's finally get to questions.
Yeah.
I tried to do that half an hour ago. It did not work out. Go ahead.
Well, we've covered a lot of. The good thing is we've talked about a lot of what the questions we're talking about. Like Chewbacca's lover asked about, he doesn't agree with Cap that anything in this world can happen. It feels a little real world style Batman like Nolan, albeit in different styles. But we covered that.
Real quick. One complaint I have, Kareem, is I don't want product placement in Gotham. I don't want it. I don't want real world things, because like the thing feels pretty stylized and timeless to me, except you get to the Times Square type place and you get like Marriott and stuff. Don't do that.
I thought they could have gotten away with making a Tim Burton-esque Gotham where it's just make your own Gotham.
Yeah, me too.
Like, yeah. There's parts where I'm just like, that's New York, that's Detroit, that's...
same thing we have with the Nolan movies.
Rainbow Nightmare says the Joker in the end was to confirm he exists in the Reeves universe, not to set him up as the next villain.
That's what Reeves keeps saying. You always got to keep that with a grain of salt, because they don't know what they're doing next.
Yeah, that doesn't change the scene at all. Like, why do we have to confirm that he exists? Who cares? Like,
yeah, we know he exists.
Can I say I totally disagree with that, DJ? I'm actually glad that it's there. I just wish it was better written and that there was more of a either a clearer take on the Joker or a lot more ambiguous about what he's like, because he says too much for them to not really know what he is yet, is my issue with it. I don't know that it would feel as definitive, on a first viewing anyway, that it would feel as definitive and a fully realized Batman world without some reference to that character for me. That's why I was glad that was there. That puts it over the top ultimately. And the other reason I was really glad it was there is for a really silly personal reason, and that is you have all four of the villains from the 66 Batman movie now in a gritty Batman movie together, and that's awesome.
I didn't even notice that.
yeah, I get that for people who, the character that just needs to be in the Batman world. I'm sick of Joker. I don't need any more Joker. I don't like Joker. And
I agree.
We've had a million of them. And another reason, and I'm the only person in the world that has
it's
this.
It's not that world without that character. They don't have to tell any stories majorly with him, but it does seem like they want to do these like lots of villains in a movie kinds of stories, and putting Joker in the mix with several other villains is a thing we do a lot to really good effect in a lot of things like Batman the Animated Series. So if we do a movie with like 5 or like an Arkham Breakout movie or something with 5, 6, 8, 10 different villains, I don't want Joker not to be there. And yeah, I get it, he's oversaturated, but that doesn't change
my problem is
the importance
actually
of that character and like what he does for building that world. Like,
my problem is not only the performances, I feel like is like kind of cringe and just like rushed, but
it felt like an Amazing Spider-Man scene.
Yeah. It's like we spent the movie learning about who Batman is, who Catwoman is, who the Riddler is. If this is your Batman, if this is your Riddler, the Joker should be like an unspeakable horror, like even more so than Heath Ledger. Like if that's your Batman, I'm wondering, like, you know, could they even do the Joker? Cap mentioned, like, is this movie for kids or stuff like that? I'm like, the Joker would be scary. Like, it almost wouldn't be entertaining to watch.
Awake at Night says, I honestly didn't care for Joker's laugh or voice. It felt very CW to me. He sounds exactly like Jerome from Gotham.
I thought it was. I thought it was the Gotham guy. I was like, did they get the same guy? That would have been crazy.
He reminded me of the Telltale Joker.
But then I looked it up, and it's the guy from Eternals and Green Knight and everything.
Well, and Kareem, the Telltale Joker would be a fine version, or something like it would be a fine version to do in this universe. But if you did that, I don't know that I would want it to him to pre-exist and be in Arkham already. Like, what's interesting about that version is that you see him before he becomes the Joker and how he gets to that place, like already as a maniac, but like not like I don't know if you can do that version without the origin of it. The origin of it is kind of the point of it.
Yeah, and I had the thought of, like, are they setting up the war of jokes and riddles, the Tom King thing?
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that. And they're cribbing from a lot of
early
recent
Batman
stuff.
stories.
So yeah, because that's only 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and it's supposed to take place right after Zero Year. So I'm wondering.
People just agreeing in the chat.
G and V Thwip, most people can't even do Sudoku puzzles, and they're complaining Riddler's puzzles are too simple. I don't think they're too simple, with the possible exception. Well, I was going to say with the possible exception of the Rat with Wings thing, but then I don't even think the problem there is that they don't immediately go to Falcone. It's just weird that they don't say Bat early. That's the only thing that's strange about that to me. I do like the he doesn't mean like mole. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, it's like that riddle was meant to seem easy, and then it threw everybody off because it wasn't what it seems like.
Alex409, how much of a time jump should the next movie have? I can't answer that question until I see what the TV shows do.
Yeah, I really... Okay, I feel like this movie really needs TV shows. It doesn't need movies. It's like a big 3-hour-long pilot.
I don't disagree
for a
with that.
bunch of different...
I'm hearing from people that it feels more like a TV show than a movie.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying it's what Gotham thought it was.
That's why I really want a Catwoman movie, because Catwoman goes and does her own thing.
You mean a Catwoman TV show?
I
is
mean,
what you told
TV
me.
show, yeah.
Yeah, he goes,
That would make sense.
He goes, why are they doing Penguin and the GCPD thing and not Catwoman? And I'm like, probably just because it's Zoe Kravitz, right? Like, that's probably the only reason.
Too expensive.
Yeah, and who knows what other project she's involved with. I mean, that's the reason that you're not going to have a Pattinson TV show. Like, he's a movie actor. But not to say that people don't cross, but, like, if you get somebody for a high-profile movie, you'd almost have to contract them for a TV show at the same time, because it just takes time to make those. Even if it's just like a one-shot miniseries thing or whatever it is. But I would have loved a Catwoman TV show because then you would simultaneously be exploring Gotham and a different city. Like, you could do a Bloodhaven show. I mean, that would be really cool.
Okay, so I really want Birds of Prey.
You have to name it the name of the
universe.
city, too.
Like,
I mean, I always want Birds of Prey, but that's it.
Yeah, but in this universe, it's perfect for me. Because I really like Catwoman.
Yeah, and I'm imagining Kareem, all of those characters easily fitting into this world.
Birds of Prey?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Like a Huntress and a Cassandra Cain and a...
Well, I was wondering, is the mayor's kid a setup for Robin? Because he has the red suit at the beginning. And
that's interesting.
Bruce's whole mystery is personal because it's similar to his own origin, and they have these moments where they just look at each other.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
So the Penguin is just going to get elected mayor on the first episode of his TV show, right? That's what happens?
And then he steals the Batmobile.
And it's a very much an Earth One thing. Oh, please
although, you know what, I'm saying that, but they didn't kill off this mayor at the end, the second mayor. For a second, we thought they kill off 2 mayors in the same movie, which would have been amazing, and that doesn't end up happening. Because we kill mayors off a lot in Batman things. We did it in Dark Knight. Mayors don't survive in Gotham.
Why would you live in Gotham?
I would be a mayor in Gotham, specifically.
Didn't they do it in Lego Batman movie?
Even they killed a mayor in Lego Batman movie?
I thought they might have.
I don't remember that. But yeah, I was gonna say this earlier about that mayor, the one that gets elected. So Edward Nygma is too far, but we're gonna go as on the nose enough to have her last name be Rial. The whole thing is like real change. And Penguins, and like, it's a good slogan when that's your last name, I get that, but Penguin's whole thing is fakeness, and they've been lying to you, and the above-board lady that actually wants to help everyone and wants to shut down Renewal is named Rial.
I had a problem with Commissioner Savage for no reason. What happened to Commissioner Loeb?
Yeah.
And we do this thing where it's like traditional Batman versus... let's do something new.
Because Savage tells you he's on the take, okay? He's bad.
Selina has a girlfriend named Anka or whatever, the Russian girl. Like, Selina has a girlfriend in the comics named Holly. Like, why can't we do that?
Holly? I had that thought too.
Where's Bullock with all these cop?
Yeah,
characters?
how come high pitched voice man at the beginning of the movie isn't Bullock?
That was the thing that took me out more than anything in the movie.
You remember that? When that guy walks in and you expect it to be a woman and then it's this big heavyset guy and he's like, "Hey, Batman!" I mean, he's like, "Hey, Commissioner Gordon!" No, I'm not Commissioner yet. But it's like, hey, Gordon, what are you doing here with this Batman? He's got to go!
Like Joe Pesci.
Yeah, he did sound like Joe Pesci. Get him out of here!
I really like all of the references, though. Like... the Shakespeare head in the background.
Did you see that?
Did you guys see the Moore and
Jason
Miller,
picked this up. I did not
thing?
see the Shakespeare head. Say again?
The Moore and Miller law document?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool. And the Hush stuff.
But did you see the Shakespeare head second time?
No, I still never saw it.
It's in the scene where the house is falling apart and Alfred's looking through his stuff. And it's in the background.
Yeah, I missed it.
It's like right.
I don't think that's the first time we've done that. I think there might be one in Dark Knight or
There's one
Begins.
in Rises, I think.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
One of those Nolan movies. I couldn't remember which. Okay, so since we were talking about the mirror for a minute, I was seeing questions about this earlier, and I want to make sure that we get to this because it's important in case we forget. So, some people are complaining that the Riddler has or tries to get the new mayor Rial killed at the end for no good reason because she is because she clearly is on the up and up and isn't part of Falcone's corrupt system, and importantly again wants to get rid of Renewal, which was the whole point in the first place. So some people are saying why shoot her? And the only thing I can think of, especially because you're trying to drown everyone anyway, like she might not make it, as she does, but she might. Remarkable that woman survives at the end of this movie. By the way, she's as bulletproof as Batman. But she
wasn't she shot and she was just walking through the water.
No, she was walking through. Well, okay, so on first viewing, I couldn't figure out how she made it, and then actually I thought she was dead for a while, and then she has a speech at the end. But she, so what happens is she gets shot, and then there's a place where in the background behind somebody talking, you can see her being stitched up by paramedics. And then she's under rubble with some other people, and Batman helps her out. in the water.
With the torch. Yeah.
But it's pretty easy to miss that that's who it is, because, I mean, she's disheveled like everybody else, so she could have been just
wondering...
any other lady in, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was I thought that's what the whole scene was for, was he was choosing to be on, yeah, I got that.
With the worst CGI in the movie, where he cuts himself and falls into the water.
Okay, but it's the only place where I noticed any kind of CG, to be fair. Like, it does have that in common with Nolan, where there's so much practical. They mask it really well. But I don't know, was that a problem for you guys?
Like, no, I knew who she was.
No, that's not what I mean. Sorry, Riddler's motivation. Why does he do that?
I think he wants to break down the entire system. That's why he floods the city. Like, it doesn't work.
Yep. And she's still trying to work within it, which is the problem. Yeah, but there maybe should have been a line about it, because she's not on his hit list.
And, like, you don't inspire radicalized dudes and just think they're gonna just follow, logic and just be vigilantes. Like, I think he wants to create chaos.
Oh, I didn't have this thought until you said that. Maybe that wasn't his plan at all. Like, to have her shot?
Yeah,
like he's got all these like radical followers that, like you just said, are doing their own thing. Like, we don't know that was in his plan. He doesn't talk about it. It's not on his hit list. Like.
I mean, he has the channel where he's just talking to the guys. Look,
his
which I love. That
video was like setting up that thing, and they all were told to bring rifles and stuff.
Which I love, that the Riddler is just an internet troll. That,
but maybe he was just like, shoot anything that moves. Maybe it wasn't like specifically the mayor, like right then, because also she didn't have to go out at that podium. Nobody knew for sure if they would even see her.
Gordon told her not to.
Yeah, he says don't do that. So I don't know. I'm mixed on that. I get why people are complaining about it, but at the same time, if it is part of his plan, I agree that it could just go ahead.
The root of all this is my complaint, which is like, this movie wants to be Christopher Nolan realistic, and then wants to be stylized. So when you try to be realistic, I'm going to ask these questions, and it kind of falls apart a little bit.
Yeah,
especially in the third act.
The salesman says no. He specifically tells them all that the city officials are going to be fish in a barrel after the flood.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, and keep in mind,
he just wants to take down the whole system because he's completely given up on it.
Right, and I agree with that, and that's where I would buy him doing that. Keep in mind that it's a flood, and that can't be an accidental symbol. That's a pretty clear symbol, right? It's a flood. We're restarting. It's the Riddler playing God and wiping away what was there before and trying to reestablish something else.
So it's not that on the nose, because he doesn't just want them to kill the mayor. He wants them to take out everyone. The only reason he shoots the mayor is because she's the one that walks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make real change, as he says.
Real change. Make some real change.
Yeah, is she like the final boss from Knights?
That's real.
I know.
And that's not even the final boss.
Oh, he's got you there. He's got his Knights knowledge.
Wise man.
Oh yeah, wise man.
I love the Riddler's face where he's watching the explosions.
Man. He's not even a man.
What were you saying, Kareem?
I love the Riddler's face where he's watching the explosions.
Oh, I love the Riddler's face always.
Yeah.
All right, DJ, throw some questions at us, man.
Paul Dano was great. All right, we got a super chat from TEdge1, $10. Me and my son love this film. I feel like it pulls inspiration from everything, including explaining why Martha became Joker in Flashpoint. Great show tonight. Thoughts about some of the things it pulls from. Yeah,
so I thought of the Flashpoint thing too, which is part of why I was a little surprised that they showed a Joker at the end, because if they wanted to do that story, they could.
So it's not. Sorry to cut you off, Cap. It's not the Flashpoint thing. It's the Earth One thing.
I know. But
Arkham.
All I'm saying is it could be both.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, in Earth 1, she's got a mental condition and is in Arkham. And yeah, that's where they pull that from. But
yeah.
I could see them going the 9 yards and then doing it in insane, having her become insane. But I wouldn't want that, because then you've got to overly... I was prepared for this because I knew somebody was going to suggest that. the problem with doing that is you don't want to overly convolute, Bruce Wayne's parents' death. Oh, that was the thing at the beginning of the show that I couldn't remember. That was the thing, is we've got to...
I know we'll come back.
Full circle.
Thanks for your confidence, Kareem. I appreciate it. You have the idea of broaching, maybe it was a conspiracy. Like Gotham does, which is awful. But like, and like, I never want that, where it's like there's this big grand conspiracy to kill the Waynes, and it's so easy for that to get super convoluted. But then they immediately backtrack it with, it could be that, but it also might just be crazy random happenstance like it usually is. And so they're having their cake and eating it too with that.
And again, that's an Earth One thing where he thinks it's political corruption, but finds out that it's just some random dude.
I love we don't know.
I like it and I don't like it. What's weird about it is I can't tell how much time Bruce himself has spent in trying to solve his own parents' murder. It's weird they don't talk about that, because this weirdly has some stuff in common with Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes,
yeah.
I was going to bring that up. I was so happy that it's kind of the same arc that he goes through in that film, where he's all about revenge because of his uncle's death, and then once he saves that kid on the bridge, just like Bruce saves that kid at the end, then he finally realizes what he needs to be doing with his
The difference is Amazing Spider-Man gets it all done in the middle of the second act, and here it's the whole movie.
This takes its time.
Well, I had this conversation with Eric, too, because he was like, and he likes this movie fine, but he was like, Is this not just the same character arc Bruce Wayne has in Begins, just stretched out to 3 hours? And I'm like, kind of and kind of not, right? Because there is a subtle... Because, yes, he's got to have that moment of realizing that, again, vengeance and justice aren't the same thing. But the difference is, this would be... I mean, he doesn't go as far as to pull out a gun and actually shoot someone with it, like he almost does in Begins, but he gets that figured out before he puts on the Batsuit, and I think that does make the character arc somewhat profoundly different, right? Where like, because in this, the idea is he is really super conflicted and thinks that he can be vengeance-driven and make a positive difference and impact at the same time. And the arc is, that's not going to work. At the point that he learns that and Begins, he's completely lost and probably ready to kill himself, honestly. So, I mean, it's a little different. Like when you go, I'm going to put on this suit and I'm going to try to make a difference, where you are in your life and why you're doing it kind of matters. And I would think that...
Absolutely.
And I would think that the way that he operates as Batman after this might be different than the way the Bruce Wayne from Begins does, because he already figured that out before he put the suit on. And I mean, he's still lost in places in Begins. There's still that... They both have that I don't care about my family's legacy thing. And they both have to kind of, figure that out by the end. But it is, I don't know, it's different, if not only subtly.
And we get Bruce gets to literally see the negative effect he's had on the city.
Yeah.
It's like that Spider-Man thing where he's creating his own villains, and that was a great scene.
I had the Ben Affleck Daredevil thing in the beginning, where the guy is like, please don't hurt me. And I kind of half expected him to be like, I'm not the bad guy.
For me, and did it also occur to you that we've got, of course, the same guy playing Penguin that played Bullseye and also working for the guy who turns out to be the Kingpin? And straight up the Kingpin! He runs all the crime! Sorry. I'm just smacking Jayson.
It's true.
Did you have that thought?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, should we get back to Super Chats?
Let's do that.
Is that tangent completely has run its course?
Probably not, but go ahead.
Victor Herman.
Yeah.
$10 again. Begins spends a lot of time. Wow. Right on cue. Begins spends a lot of time getting Bruce to Batman, but anytime he's in the suit, he's always portrayed as the fully formed icon. I appreciate Reeves' approach of making Batman feel human in the suit.
What a great point, yeah. And one thing that I really dug was that he doesn't always wear it. There are times where it makes sense to be stealthy and not have it on, and he does that, and it's great.
Sorry, I'm so jittery and excited on this podcast. I don't know why. I'm not a Batman guy, but I'm going to say another thing that I'm the only person in the world.
Okay, but I think if this movie, I think if you'd grown up with this movie or you'd read late '80s, early '90s Batman comics, you would be more of a Batman guy because this is the stuff. A lot of the characterization with this is the stuff, like the stuff you were talking about earlier, where you were loving like how driven he was and how he was like trying to force himself to be like inhuman and stuff. That's what I love about Batman. That's the whole thing, and we've never really had that on the big screen.
I'm late to the party. I'm finally seeing real Batman. I understand, but I'm going to say something that's going to make all the Batman fans hate me because I'm the only person that would ever have this. But it's like halfway through the movie before we even see the Batmobile, and when we finally saw the Batmobile, I was like, oh yeah, Batman has a car. I kind of wish this Batman didn't because he was so good at like he said, he was like undercover. He's riding a motorcycle around.
He's honest with you?
On buildings, and I'm like, I don't need this Batman to have a Batmobile.
I love the car. I personally like the car chase quite a bit. I had the exact same thing.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love the car too.
I did. I was like,
cool, but I didn't need this particular Batman to have that.
Kareem, it's the same thing you keep complaining about. It's not realistic enough for how realistic they're trying to get. This Batman shouldn't be driving around in a car.
I guess so. I liked it because I like the car and I like the scene.
No, I like it too, but it took me out for the same reason it did DJ.
Well, and I understand why today he would have been completely annihilated if he didn't put a Batmobile in a Batman movie. I understand we have to have it, but like he didn't use it, and he was fine for like half the movie, and then finally when we have to have a big chase scene, he has to get the Batmobile out.
I want to know how he gets it in and out of where he lives.
Someone said he doesn't care about the explosion in the background, just getting Penguin.
Yeah, when Penguin does the explosion and then like right before the Batmobile comes out and is like I every time think like in my head, I never miss.
That's great.
And part of it was because it was that scene, and I had a little bit of the same thing as Batman Begins, where the Tumblr scene goes on way too long. Not anywhere near to that extent, but I was like, this is getting really out of hand with this car scene, and it's going a little long. But
he's exploding the rooftops.
He's exploding the interstate.
Yeah, but it's so classically shot.
On the rooftops.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, I can't complain about anything.
Was the bat signal on GCPD in this? Or was it just a random building?
I couldn't tell where it was. That scene when Gordon goes, I thought you turned it on, I was baffled by that. It's like, where is it? And there was a little bit of placement confusion for me with this too, because it wasn't until the second viewing that I realized that where Bruce Wayne lives, I'm hesitating saying Wayne Manor, I don't get what it is. He lives in a tower in the middle of the city, so does he live in Wayne Enterprises? And is the Batcave a basement? And I don't know what's happening. Like, because Austin
can't access it from the thing.
Because Austin told me that, and I wish he was here so he could explain this to me. He was like, "There's something in the," and I saw this twice, didn't notice this. He said there's something about Wayne Manor being burned down, like we had with BVS, like that was maybe a holdover from Affleck's script or something, and that's why he's not Wayne. I'm like, wait, he's not Wayne Manor? And then on a second viewing, I was like, oh yeah, he's not on an island off, or like he's not outside. Sorry, he's not outside of Gotham. He's in the middle of this because because the explosion that happens when Alfred gets the package.
Yeah.
We get an establishing shot of the top of the tower on fire. That's where they are.
Oh, I thought that was Wayne Manor because
it looks like Wayne Manor on the inside. It's like a really fancy old building on the inside.
Yeah. Razzie Man says it's on a random half of the built building, and the Smarty Pants Tutoring says lives in Wayne Tower, donated Wayne Manor. It's weird, right? Like it looks like a house inside, but it's not a house.
He had his parents' room chained up. Like I was confused on that.
So it's not like he's out of.
Okay, so he grew up in a tower in the center of the city? That sounds safe.
I mean,
in this
very
city?
early Batman that he goes into the city and he doesn't want to stay at Wayne Manor, so.
I wish he did more stuff in the Batcave.
Because the Batcave's cool, or the Bat Basement, maybe. I'm not sure.
It's in a train station. It's in an abandoned train station.
That's right, it is, because you see, because it says Wayne at the top. It's also like Amazing Spider-Man in that way.
Oh. That's why I love this so much, apparently.
Well, considering how far, in some ways, let me tack this on, that they're trying to get away from the Nolan stuff, Kareem, but they're still kind of entrenched in it. There are a lot of comparisons, obviously, to be made with that movie. We blow up part of the house. It's the whole thing doesn't fall down, and it's not actually the manor, but we did do a fire there. We have the Joker setup thing at the end. I don't care that the plan isn't apparently to necessarily do Joker later, but it's still... It's right at the end, so it's hard not to be thinking about that when it happens. There's quite a bit of that.
On some level, you can't get away from it. It's not only influential to superhero movies, it's influential to movies in general, like the 2000s, the 2010s.
I mean, just sheer screen time. He did 3 2.5 hour plus movies. Like, there's a lot of stuff he covered in those movies that's going to come back up.
Well, and Falcone's a big thing, of course. I mean, I will say you didn't have to go back to Long Halloween at all yet again if you wanted to.
I was hearing a lot of complaints
steer away
on that.
from screen things we've had before. I mean, I don't think it's fair, DJ, to go, well, it was 3 2.5 hour movies, so of course we're gonna get Falcone. Like, yeah, not necessarily. But the problem is, this guy was originally tutored by, or his mentor was, what's his face who wrote Long Halloween? Jeff Loeb. So he's got a lot of Jeff Loeb in it because he likes that stuff, and there's no way around that. But like,
I had a thing where it's like just a sort of a conceptual thing where the Dark Knight, the Joker says the freaks will replace the mob bosses, and it's like, why couldn't you just have that status quo? Because we never got it in Rises.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you wanted to do something different, do the Long Halloween thing where it's like, no, the villains take over, and he's inspired.
That might be what ends up happening, but it's right at the end of the movie, so who knows? But like, that would be the impetus for it. I mean, that's also just like Begins, where you've got the whole Narrows thing, except it's the whole city.
It's kind of jarring that the mob bosses kind of like they kind of treat Batman like he's a pushover and stuff, where in the comics, like, Batman makes the mob bosses extinct.
Yeah, and in this, the thing that tears the whole system down doesn't really actually have that much to do with Batman. It would have happened anyway, except, I mean, I guess Batman's only... This is what's weird about it, right? The only reason that Falcone dies is because Riddler gives Batman riddles that gets him to that place. Well, then Catwoman still could have potentially killed him, though. That's the thing, is you didn't even necessarily have to have Batman. She didn't manage it, so there's that. But it's not like I just thought of this. It's not like he figured out the riddle. Oh, the light is this lamppost outside. I'm going to get him under that and get him killed. Now, he actually did want to play into Riddler's plan there, because he was like, I'm going to get him in the light. It's like, do you really want to do that? You know what's going to happen?
I heard people complain on that, where Batman can't figure out the trajectory of the photos. Like, all of the photos were taken from Riddler's apartment.
Oh.
So that's kind of a flaw.
That's maybe fair. Well, he's new.
Yeah.
I guess the answer can always be
2.
He's new, and that's going to be too much of an excuse. No, I mean, it is maybe a little bit of a problem. But I'm just saying that, like, you're going to have this massive change because you killed the guy that was in not only running all the crime, but also had, like Kingpin in the Daredevil show, had everybody in his pocket, and it wasn't actually really Batman that tore all that down. So are the criminals going to be any more scared of him now? Especially now that he's changing his MO to a hope thing? So is he going to be like a friendlier Batman? I mean, the last shot of Batman is his like half cracking a smile with like I hate to use this word because it's Pattinson, but with like Twilight behind him, right? Like, yep, Batman almost in the daytime at the end of the bleakest Batman movie you've ever seen until it becomes the most hopeful superhero movie you've ever seen. We're gonna have a kinder, gentler Batman, and also, hopefully all the bad guys are more afraid of him.
Yeah. To me, that sort of
stands for hope.
My Batarang stands for hope, as I bitch in the face with it.
The bat's just a bat.
The bat's just enough.
That sort of justified the existence of the movie to me, though. If we didn't have that transition at the end, the character arc that Batman goes on, I'm like, it justifies its existence.
Oh, it absolutely does. Now,
Yeah.
the question, Kareem, is does it justify having, yet again, such a big ending? Because I'm also hearing a lot of people complaining about the scope of that.
My first viewing, I felt that. I was like, oh, we have to have this. The whole city's destroyed again? Really? But it makes sense for, like you said, the Riddler's trying to do a biblical thing, trying to reset. Plus, we're taking inspiration from Zero Year. It doesn't feel too, Avengers, there's a hole in the sky again, sort of thing.
No, that would have been out of left field.
No, but it is giant in the way that the end of Batman Begins is. I mean, you almost could have still had that whole scene with the guy with the reservoir, right? It's like, and if the pressure, and if it reaches us.
You sound like the guy from the X-Men movies. It's like, get your cartridges.
Get your cure cartridges. That movie is so dumb.
I didn't
the
feel
remake.
it.
The remake was even dumber.
Oh yeah, it was lamer, if that's possible.
I didn't even see that.
Oh,
but I didn't feel it
better
was
for it.
so big.
You're a better man for it.
It helps that all roads really are leading there. I mean, you've got lots of foreshadowing and tells and stuff. I mean, my God, the thing is bookended with Nirvana's Under the Bridge.
Yeah.
Like,
Plus, I have to say it's thematically relevant. We have natural and unnatural disasters and modern times. Like I said, random violence.
Yeah.
We need to see a more motivating Batman for this generation. We're talking about kids and stuff like that. So if you're going to do something new and something different than the Nolan movies, I think that's the way to go without it being like hammy and in your face.
yeah, and somehow it didn't feel too on the nose, again, thematically, until I started really thinking about it, and I was like, oh, of course, it's a flood, and, like, starting everything over, but also the cleansing waters that, like, Batman has. We've got this whole thing with renewal, and then Batman is renewed at the end through, like, cleansing water. He's got, like, a baptism, kind of.
Yeah,
One thing
sorry,
DJ.
Renewal,
it's
revival. It's like a Baptist tent revival. That kind of thing.
like, this happens with, like, I guess more artistic movies that are trying to tie everything to the theme. Because some people have this with Batman Begins too. Some people hate how much fear is tied into literally every part of that movie.
That's very much a Nolan thing.
It's one of those things where if it
That's
works,
my favorite thing
if
about
everything if everything clicks for you, then it's amazing. But if it doesn't, then it starts to be a bunch of little nagging things.
And it starts to feel really contrived.
Seems too on the nose. Yeah.
And, like, it doesn't feel like a thing that's really happening. So you can see the writing on the page too much. And that is what I had with, ultimately, like we were talking about earlier, with the Riddler seeming to be trying to figure out Bruce Wayne's, or knowing that Bruce Wayne is Batman thing. Mm-hmm. That's why that unraveled.
Did you guys catch the story that Falcone said about young Bruce Wayne on the stairs, and he got shot in the chest, and his father performed surgery on him, and that's the way he dies. Is Bruce is looking at him shot in the chest. I thought that was really cool. It's taken from Long Halloween.
Oh, cool.
That
was a scene I put up. It was the Alfred scene.
I did not catch that was directly out of Long Halloween. One thing I appreciated, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, yay, we didn't have to see Bruce's parents killed for the 92nd time on screen. It's not the Spider-Man thing where we have to be ambiguous about what even happened. It's in there. It does stand on its own, so that's good. We're going to say...
Oh, it's central to the plot.
Didn't he die? Didn't Riddler kill him, though?
Didn't Riddler kill who? I'm lost now.
Thomas Wayne.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
We
Then
think it
what was
might
the
be
point
Falcone.
of that scene?
Of what scene?
Where he brutally, like... Cause that's
What are you talking about? Who's Thomas
That's
Wayne?
the mayor.
Thomas
The
Wayne
beginning
is
scene?
dead before the movie starts.
You're talking about the opening scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the new mayor.
It's the mayor who is... It's on Halloween night, and he's like... His kid's going out trick-or-treating, and he's like playing around with the sword,
I thought that was Thomas Wayne, though.
No.
That's the dude in the funeral in the casket.
Yeah, that's the same crime. I can see why you thought that in the moment, but that's the same crime that Batman and Gordon are investigating at the beginning when you first see Batman. By the way, I didn't say this, but it's got that really great Ninja Turtles thing where you're anticipating seeing Batman, and they finally reveal him, walking out of the shadows. Like, that's great.
Oh, that's so
We've
good.
honestly never done that in a Batman movie, and it's shocking that we haven't.
Well, we haven't
if
even
you
talked
think
about that.
it.
I love how, like, and I know you wanted him to be more ninja-like and, like, supernatural, but I
Yeah.
just loved how it was such a different take to have him just be, like, so deliberate, like, almost serial killer walk, because it goes so great with the score, where he just walks places. He doesn't even run. He just walks. It's so creepy.
Well, I had it in places where I love that first scene, and then...
With the stairs, every time he comes down the stairs, like, bing, bing, bing.
And it's like, why are you knocking on the front door of the club? Like, you're Batman. Go into the... Sneak in. You're a ninja or something.
Yeah, but isn't it fun, though, that he goes there as both aliases, and the guys there each treat him treat him differently depending on who he is? That's fun.
It's
Cap,
fun every time when it's like, do you know who I am?
Yeah, he says it both times. And then the guy that he beat the crap out of is like, hey, it's Bruce Wayne!
Oh my gosh.
Cap, did you think that was Tweedledum and Tweedledee?
No, I did not have that thought.
The only twins in Batman?
It could have been. And it is easy, and I'm not giving you crap when I say this, Kareem, but it would be easy to read into things as references in certain places. A lot of people saying the adrenaline thing at the end, including Austin,
Venom.
could be a lead up for Venom. And I saw somebody earlier in the comments go, look, guys, sometimes a whatever is just a whatever. Like, it's not Venom, it's just adrenaline. But it's important to keep in mind that it is a bright green fluid for some reason.
That's true.
And that's a very early Batman thing.
I just want to throw that out there.
You mentioned Gordon, and we haven't talked about Gordon at all. Gordon might become he has the potential to become my favorite Gordon just on voice alone. I don't know why. I love that guy's voice.
I love everything about that portrayal. And
He kept saying man.
That's great. It's great.
Oh, and
I loved him so much.
The thing that I caught the second time through is every time Catwoman says Jesus, she says it constantly.
Oh, does she really?
Yeah.
I noticed that too. Every time Batman shows up, she says it.
Yeah.
Every time
she's like, Jesus.
Did you bring that up just so that you could get to the closest to swearing possible?
No.
Okay.
No.
Can you
says it a lot too.
real quick? This is not related to anything, but I just remember this. Tell everybody about the thing that you noticed in the scene with Penguin after the car chase, because it's great. Where he's roped up and they leave.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Or is it?
Yeah.
I did not have this thought.
Yeah, because I said, oh, you're an actual penguin now. Because he's, like, jumping around. And
he gets roped up, his legs are together, and then he's waddling like a penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah, my whole theater laughed at that. That was, like, one of the biggest laughs of the movie.
Well, it was funny also just because of what he was saying, but it didn't occur to me that now he's waddling.
Yeah, because he's penguin.
They did really well with the reference. That's why the Joker thing bothered me too, is because every other like reference joke like that was handled really well, and then that one just seems so out of like making him walk like a penguin. Like when I think it is Penguin who says like, "What do you live in a cave?" Like those little subtle things didn't jump out to me as like Marvel humor, which I thought was really good.
I think it was Selena who said that actually.
Okay, yeah, someone said it because he hadn't heard about something.
Or she said, "You definitely grew up rich."
Well, no, she says that too, but I think there's another place where she says, maybe it wasn't her, maybe you're right, I forget, but there was some big piece of information he hadn't gotten yet. It's like, what do you live in a cave?
Oh yeah, the thumb drive.
Yeah, I think that was Penguin. Yeah.
That was the weirdest thing.
It's so good because he goes so like that must have been so much work just to make Batman, like, oh, Batman and Gordon are the only ones that are going to see that, and he just went through all that work to make a thumbprint.
And he's Riddler's always really punny like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is a more what's the word I'm looking for?
Grounded serial killer.
Sadistic one. But yeah, I'm having a tough time with the Zodiac killer thing, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they nailed the vibe with that.
What did you like about it? Just because you like extravagant big Riddler, or
why does it have to be Riddler? I mean, there are just so many Batman villains who have a clue motif that, I mean, like, okay, like I said, I like the way he uses riddles to get Batman to places and to kind of like force him into working for him and all of that. Like, they make it work, but he just as easily could have been like Clue Master or the Puzzler, or like it almost doesn't in my mind quite earn it having to be the Riddler. Like, he's almost too reinvented for my taste. I think and that's why I haven't complained about it yet. Like, for the sake of the narrative, it's really good. And
yeah.
But this is one of the reasons that I feel like I've got to have more, because I want to see him put on a suit, because I feel like by the end I feel like Reeves is afraid that he's not going to win over diehard Batman fans on this version of Riddler because he doesn't look like the Riddler, right? And I don't mean to be superficial about it, but it's like, well, we got question marks, so that's good enough. And then it's like, if we make him diminutive and unimposing and really nerdy, that'll win over the fanboys on the Riddler, because he's traditionally been that way, but we've been changing him a lot more recently to be a lot more actually menacing and sadistic and scary. So what if we blended them? What if it was simultaneously both versions, and it was like the Iron Man 3 thing, but then it turned out that he still was a scary bad guy? You know what I mean? Where, like, the big reveal is he's not the Mandarin, but he is the Mandarin also. Like, that's kind of the difference. And I don't know. It works okay for the sake of the piece, but it's so genuine otherwise in all the comic stuff that I'm having a hard time appreciating that suit. And I know I'm not alone on it.
Yeah,
because Eric is also complaining about this really hard.
I've heard a lot of complaints about it's too much of a reinvention. It's not the Riddler. The only reason I'm okay with it is because A, we're building up to the Riddler, and B, it fits the vibe of, like, the Zodiac killer, and it works for the story.
Yeah, his background would potentially lead him to be a Zodiac-type killer.
And that's why I think I was missing the end scene of the Riddler. Like, I needed a closure between, because I thought, both viewings, I thought he knew Bruce Wayne was Batman. And I wanted that scene from the end of Hush where the Riddler knows Bruce Wayne is Batman, and Batman sort of, like, wins against him, and he's like, what good is a riddle if everyone knows it? And the Riddler can't bring himself to tell everybody because he's obsessed with riddles. He's obsessed with being the smartest one.
And you would just have to rewrite the story to make that scene work.
Yeah,
is the problem. Because then
I was waiting for that.
But if they put that in there, Kareem, then again, his trying to kill Bruce Wayne does not work, and you'd have one of the biggest plot holes you've ever had in a movie.
That's true.
Because I was really worried about that when that thing explodes. I'm like, wait a minute, if he knows Batman's Bruce Wayne, why on earth would he try to kill him? And then that ends up making sense, finally.
So I have a couple questions. One, how...
Shoot, you have to give me super chat money.
I probably,
Get it? Questions.
I probably have...
There's so many questions!
I probably just missed something.
Yeah.
Both times. But how does Batman know that Catwoman's name is Selena?
Oh, because he picks up a piece of her mail where she's late on a bill, and it says Selena Kyle on it. And there's this really nice subtle bit where he calls her Selena, and there's this look on her face like, for a second, how do you know that? And then, oh yeah, you're a detective. You've been walking all around my apartment this whole time. It's really nice and understated. Also, movie gives the audience a lot of credit. Yeah. Except for that one place where they want to freak us out with the Riddler not actually knowing that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Yeah. You know, the biggest twist for me was a thematic one. For me, the biggest surprise in the movie is, oh, the whole thing has been about copycats, like the beginning of Dark Knight. That was the biggest shocker for me.
You mean the Riddlers at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually the biggest shock for me. That's what this has been about this whole time.
When he says, I'm vengeance, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and I mean, we'd already kind of gotten it thematically before that. For me, it was more the super creepy Riddler speech, where
which your son thought was hilarious.
Where he's revealing that Batman was his inspiration and that he idolizes him and that they should be best friends now. I also like the one thing I like about the Joker bit though is that again just thematically is that Batman or Riddler thinks that he and Batman are going to be best friends because they're aligned on what they want to change. And then and then he becomes friends with Joker at the end, and the last riddle is a riddle about friendship. That's good.
And we learned that Joker is not as good as Riddler at riddles because it's the easiest riddle in the entire world. Like it was like, what was it? It was like, what do you never need more of? It was like friend was like literally the first word that popped in my head as soon as he stopped saying it. I was like, oh yeah, that's the Joker's riddle.
I thought you were gonna say, Kat, that the Joker talks about friendship, but in the Joker's mind, he sees Batman as the ultimate friend. And it's kind of this twisted relationship.
I just didn't think of that because we haven't had this version of him yet, but I'm sure they'll go there if they use him very much at all.
Also, why does Catwoman always change her hair every second?
Just different wigs.
She's like astronomer.
Because of her line of work.
Yeah, it's.
I did have the man. I'm such a comic book fan. Like Bucky is the Winter Soldier, Gwen Stacy dies, Jason Todd dies. Like I know Catwoman's Falcone's daughter.
Yeah.
Like that didn't.
See, that's where it helps to not know anything about Batman.
But I saw it coming in the scene where we're leading to it, but I didn't think of it till we got there because screen stuff hasn't done it. I mean, we've dealt with it in, I think, no, Telltale doesn't do it. Telltale has her as Riddler's kid, which is really interesting. And kind of interesting that Riddler's a big part of this. Because I mean they're dancing all around it, right? Like Riddler is in Telltale. Selina's. Am I remembering that right? Because he's older. That he's Selina's father, and then you have what was the other thing? I did this again. There's a second thing. And then Hush in the animated movie is the Riddler. Like we're dancing all around Riddler being other things.
Did Falcone know that was his daughter?
Not until. So here's what's weird about that whole thing, because I was really confused about this until a second viewing, and I don't know if it's intentionally confusing, but she talks about being around him and him treating her differently, implying that that's because she's his daughter when she's young. So the assumption is. This is the assumption I'm making. I don't know if I'm right about it. The assumption I'm making, because he does not recognize her at the end. She's been working for him, but he doesn't know that that's his daughter because she has to say, do you remember my mother? And names her by name. Oh, yes, I do. Did not know who that was. So my assumption is he knows that the elder Kyle and he had a daughter and knew her when she was younger, but then it's been a lot of years and doesn't recognize her as an adult. That's what I think is going on.
He recognizes her because because when she first comes to the club, he's like, "Oh, you haven't been down here in a while," and he like caresses her face, and he knows that she was the one that he always was flirting with when she was younger.
She came to the club and said, "I want to talk about the Russian girl," and anybody who wants to talk about the Russian girl gets killed. I feel like he wouldn't tell his men to get out if he wanted to kill her.
He knew her and like had a soft spot for her, but I don't think he knew that her mother was his mother. Was the girl that she was.
Well, he can't have known that because otherwise why would she have to spell it out for him?
Yeah.
So that's weird.
That was kind of confusing.
Well, I don't know for sure because the way she talks about it early on, it really sounds like he knew that's who she was when she was a kid, but maybe not.
Unless he just knew he had a daughter.
Ultratron. See, other people are getting what I was getting. Ultratron, when her mom took her to visit, he knew, but she gets sent to the orphanage, grows up, comes back, and he doesn't recognize her. That's what I thought was going on.
But the very first thing he says to her is, "You haven't been down here in a while. I haven't seen you."
And it's kind of creepy to have that kind of.
But DJ, she's been working for him, like Like we see her working.
But
for...
she says that she used to hang out down there when her mom worked down there, and he knew that.
Right, but that doesn't mean that she's not been there as an adult either. I don't know. I'm just not sure.
And the way
I'm not totally sure what exactly she does there all the time, right? Because it seems like she mostly works for Penguin, but Penguin's his right-hand man, so she could be around all that stuff. But we know she doesn't work in the main club either, so yeah, I don't know.
Oh, so that one scene in the prison at the end really freaked me out.
We're not the only people confused about this. There are conflicting explanations in the comments. So they did not quite do the right legwork in that. I am going to complain about that. Go ahead.
So, yeah, that prison scene at the end with Riddler genuinely freaked me out.
Yeah, he was creepy the entire time.
You gonna be all right? Have you been having nightmares?
No.
Okay,
just that.
That's good. That's good, because I'll feel like an irresponsible parent.
Like,
I'm not supposed to take you to this movie until you're 1 year and 3 months older than you are right, or 1 month older than you are right.
It's not scary. It's just like it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of like freakish, especially.
Wayne.
And then he goes like. It feels like he's like voicing over it and going like really into the microphone.
Paul Dano's so good. What has he been doing lately? I need to see more Paul Dano in my life.
More art house movies, but yeah, he's amazing.
Guys, we have 15 minutes left. So DJ, how many super chats do we have?
9.
Oh my God, let's get into them. Here we go.
All right, Jack Napier 0801. Thoughts on how they portrayed the no killing code?
I like it when Gordon says that's your thing.
That was amazing.
That was fun. No, I think it's handled pretty well, pretty traditionally. Kareem, were you surprised that the whole the bat was his parents' gun thing is not true?
Just a fan.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to mention that, but I like that he feels like he's doing the Batman thing because he feels like he's carrying on his family's good legacy. Where he says, "Alfred, you're not my dad," and he's just like, "This is my family's legacy. Like nothing matters." And did you guys catch that thing in the beginning where Alfred's like, an accountant wants to see you, and like the Riddler is the accountant, so he's trying to kill Bruce Wayne.
I did not catch that.
Right
That's
away.
awesome.
But anyways, yeah, the no killing thing.
Oh, maybe that makes more sense then, because you said you didn't like how he tries to kill Bruce Wayne. Maybe he tried to get into his house like the conventional way, like he did with all the others, but he just couldn't get in, so he had to do the package thing.
I guess so.
Was there not an order, though? It just seemed like he wanted to kill those people in a very specific order.
And he tortured all of them, like psychologically tortured all of them, and he humiliated them, like just sending a bomb to Bruce Wayne.
But he just couldn't get in touch with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne was in the cave the whole time. He's always Batman.
To be fair, he does talk about limitations, where it's like, I couldn't get in to see this person, so
yeah,
I had to do it this other way. I mean, because he can't really psychologically torture Falcone either, and that's why he needs Batman to go there.
But the main thing I was getting at was just no, you're fine. Just continuing his family's good legacy, which is why the Thomas Wayne potentially being corrupt sort of like tears him apart.
And makes him a lot more sympathetic than if this was some other movie where it's not Batman, because I mean he is like really lost and very selfish, and like he's, I don't know, it's funny because I simultaneously found myself understanding why people like DJ and Dan don't like Batman, while also being vindicated and going, this is why he's great. Where it's like, this guy is not likable, and thank God he gets to the hopeful place at the end of this movie, because that makes the whole movie, man. If you don't have him saving people with the water and realizing that he can't keep going the way he's going, and that he's actually getting people killed, because I've always been interested in the Batman who might be doing more harm than good, and the kind of ambiguity of that. And I mean, it's wonderful, but like they use the no killing thing as a major character component, but very subtly also.
Yeah, but he's going much further, because he's like in this, like he's nothing but vengeance. He's like literally beating criminals to a pulp and crippling some of them, but he He's still not crossing that line, but I think he won't be as brutal in the sequel if we get one.
Yeah, well, and you could argue that we don't actually fully know where the no-kill rule comes from, considering that he's as ruthless as he is. Where, like, he doesn't really talk about why he doesn't use guns. It's sort of just implied. That is maybe the one place where you're expected to know something about Batman already.
Yeah.
I could make that argument.
Well, and I know they won't do this, so obviously I'm just playing devil's advocate for a second, but, like, there could be a version of Batman that doesn't like guns but is okay with killing. I'm not saying that's what this is. Please don't rake me over the coals, but, like, he's more...
Not, but you're right.
He mentions the gun thing. He doesn't mention the no-killing thing, so I'm just saying... It could
well,
be, but...
he does subtly,
well,
because Catwoman's like, let's go kill him, and he's like, we're not going to do it that way.
And
so,
he saves the guy.
That is kind of there.
Because Selina has a gun. No, don't use the gun, Selina. Let's just go strangle him or something. I'm not saying that's...
let's not strangle him,
his
because
eyes
then
out
that
first.
would make us exactly like Falcone. Maybe that's not the method.
Yeah, I know that's not what this movie is doing, but that would be a weird take.
I'm thinking of all kinds of other things we haven't mentioned yet. Real quick, sorry, I know we got to get to other super chats, but I would be remiss. So, I really like the reveal of the strangling with her friend over the phone. That's a blood-chilling kind of moment anyway. But we're told that, again, this is subtle. It's easy to miss it on first viewing. We're told that her mother died by strangling, and that's the tell. Because that it was Falcone that killed her mother. That whole thing is great. I also really appreciate the character parallel between Bruce Wayne and his father. The really weird way where it is kind of sins of the father, but not the way you think it is. Where they are both people trying to do the right thing that accidentally go the wrong direction and have to make up for it in some way. Because the Riddler... and the way he's inspired by Batman ends up being in a way, I mean, it's different, but in a way it's Thomas Wayne's trying to get that reporter scared but not killed, and then he gets him killed. So like they both are doing the wrong thing for the right well, sort of. I mean, they're kind of wrong thing for wrong reasons, but like their hearts are kind of in the right place. But also not. They've got to kind of, tweak their thinking. And it's not a perfect parallel, but it's there.
And they both were trying to scare people, and it turned out awful.
That's right. And I was not articulating that right, but you're exactly right. That's what it is.
That's why you're here, Kareem. All right. T-Edge1, $5. Was the renewal fund the thing that the lawyers were going to talk to Bruce about in the meeting that Bruce asked Alfred why he had to go to the meeting?
I bet it was, because that's at the same time as the election, and that's one of the big
And we know that
issues with
she's
the
been
election.
trying to get in touch with him, and she can't.
Yeah.
Because no one can. Because Riddler can't either, because he's a recluse.
And he realizes at the end, being Bruce Wayne is vital to the cities, to save the city.
Not John Kelling says essentially he literally said he killed her mother as he was strangling Selina. I know, but what I mean is that's the tell early on. Like if you're really paying attention, you'd already know that before he says it. It's kind of what I was getting at. I also might have just been using the word essentially as a filler word. That happens.
I say I do that with basically.
Yeah.
Even though like it means something different, but
it's not basic. It's definitely it's the thing. Yeah.
I think I did that with apparently, but not John Kelling, $5 super chat. Same guy. I'm Greek. I'm Latin. I'm 500 years old. I speak in riddles. What am I?
Sphinx.
God, kid, have you just heard that one?
No.
Were you reading that earlier and thinking about it this entire time?
Maybe.
Cap, your kid's Batman.
Or it might be the Riddler. Hey,
no, he's right, John Kelly.
Did you guys have this? I said on the How We Felt About that I really liked Pattinson's Batman voice. But the more I'm thinking about it, it turns more into at least a begins male voice as it goes along. Did you guys catch that? Like,
I really liked it.
One thing
I do
had
too.
was...
But he starts getting a little bit more guttural as it goes along. By the end, it doesn't have the stupid synthesizer thing like in Dark Knight and Rises, but he's huffing and puffing a little bit more than he
Like
is.
in Rises,
Especially
where
when he's talking to
explaining
not
he's doing a soliloquy in it.
Oh,
when
really?
the thing
Specifically, he sounds like that when he's talking to Not Anne Harriet?
on the phone when the house is blowing up, and he's like yelling at her.
Which is hilarious because you're not Rachel. Which is hilarious because you're not even Batman at that point. I don't.
I love how centered and zen he is. Like he feels like he mastered his emotions. He's just whispering. He almost has this Michael Keaton thing going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, simultaneously, he's got Jason's emo hair. Like,
yeah.
My problem was Pattinson American accent sometimes sounds like a street guy, where Batman sounds sort of like he has an accent. I'm like, he's a wealthy, like, rich boy. He should speak clearly. Like,
that's interesting. Checkers the Inventor, $2.
Not John Kelling just said wrong a bunch of times in all caps, like he's Lex Luthor from Superman Returns.
Oh, it's not the. Yeah, I was gonna say, is the Sphinx Greek and Latin?
Oh, wrong because your answer was incorrect. Read the riddle again, because I didn't actually noodle it. I just decided Jayson must have been right about it.
I'm Greek. I'm Latin. I'm 500 years old. I speak in riddles. What am I?
The alphabet? No.
Okay, so Sphinx is going to be more than 500 years old.
Oh yeah.
Not a Sphinx.
Jason's like, what?
And
Jason's like, what do you want?
I'm not good at.
Oh,
riddles,
it's an oracle.
That's probably also not true. It might be, but like which one?
It's
there's
Diana
oracles that
of
are...
mascara.
Well, anyway, moving. You stumped me with that.
We never said we were solving riddles here.
We ain't Batman.
All right, Checkers the Inventor, $2. The Batcave is an old Private Wayne subway. Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
Jayson picked up on that, and I did not. Good job, Jayson.
Yeah.
Private subway. Well, they really are wealthy. TH1, $2. He's frail and nerdy, but can bludgeon a guy to death.
Yeah, anybody can.
Yeah, anybody can bludgeon somebody. They just need a sharp object.
It helped that he had the element of surprise.
Yeah, and he was like waiting in that room. He was like,
And I like how frantic and like
that was
scared he looked in that scene. Where
Same
he, like,
here.
And he like fell on the ground. I was like, oh god.
So
it's almost like it was emotional for him, like his howl, like.
Yeah,
I think it was probably the first time he'd ever done anything like that.
First kill, yeah.
Yeah. Also, he was just standing really still, and then after he killed that guy, he was like.
Yeah, I love the breathing.
It's ironic that I was getting sometimes more just in like camera placement and directing and stuff like that. I was getting more Watchmen vibes with this than I was with BVS, made by the same cinematographer and director. Like that scene in particular felt like a Watchmen scene to me.
Interesting.
And I got more with city shots and stuff. I was getting a lot of Alex Proyas, like I said, a lot of Crow. But then there were places where it was very Watchmen to me.
Did you guys have a visual thing where some of the shots on the corners looked so blurry, like it was like shot on portrait mode?
Yeah. Well, that was the soft focus that he had.
I also love
sometimes
when
I
he
had a
talks.
problem with that.
Oh, okay. Was it messing with your eyes, Kareem?
Like
Did
it was a
make
little
your
too
eyes
much.
water?
That's what people were all complaining about. Recent movie where everything is like rack focused, where only one thing is in focus in the whole screen on that zombie.
Brain aneurysm, didn't watch it.
Look, Kareem, if it hurts when you raise your arm, just don't raise your arm. No, I didn't notice that at all.
I was trying to read Selena's bill, and it was so blurry at the end.
Not on the zombie movie either. I wonder if that's something to do with it.
Maybe so.
Oh, and I love when he talks in HTML. Riddler.
Yep. That's great.
All right, let's get through these. John Ty, $5. What's your favorite shots in the film? Mine was the aerial shot with Batman. I was going to say that, dang it. Guiding the people out of the flooded stadium.
That was great. I love the Riddler taking the tape.
I know what Dad's is.
Ooh, what is mine?
Because every single time we watch it, he's like, "Oh my gosh, look at that shot!" It's the shot when, on the roof.
Tuna's not a pattern, mate.
It's the shot on the roof when he's standing there and Selena goes up on the roof.
The behind the Batman shot?
Yeah.
Such a pretty shot.
That's cool.
I want to poster that. It's my favorite shot.
I'm not sure what mine is. I don't know.
It's true. Chewbacca's Lover, what do you think about this film as more comic booky than the Nolan films? I mean, some of it is just overall vibe. but some of it is also like you'd never have the Penguin makeup in a Nolan movie, and stuff like that.
It's like it's like teeter. It's not even close to Dick Tracy, but it's like going in the direction.
But I was going to say that too. Yep.
The narration, which I wanted more of, the narration is very like melodrama heightened. The dialogue, the way people talk, are very much like they come from archetypes. Like Kat mentioned the Joe Pesci-esque commissioner. You know, it's very cartoonish in a good way, and I wanted more of that.
Some of it is that it's more comic booky in general, and some of it is that it just speaks more specifically to Batman comics than other Batman media. Like, Catwoman has not moved like this before.
Oh yeah.
Except in video games and cartoons and stuff. I mean,
you should have been purple in this movie.
See, that's another one of those places where I would love that, and I think the movie might be able to get away with that if it does 5 other things like that. But it's not quite going there. So yeah. We still have a Catwoman who sort of has a cat motif and sort of doesn't.
I don't think she's even named as Catwoman, is she?
She's not, and it's like she's
says,
got
like, the bat and the cat, but she doesn't. Yeah. She
says that at the end. That is true. But I don't get the sense that her cat outfit is intentionally supposed to mimic a cat. She's just a person who happens to like cats because of the stray thing she says, and then she's got a ski mask that sort of has cat ears. You know.
Yeah.
But again, this could be the beginning of Catwoman.
Well, the fact that she says cat right away, I'd be shocked if we don't see like a newspaper article that says Catwoman, in the next movie.
Or she just goes by the cat, like Black Cat's dad in the 90s Spider-Man show.
Okay, we are at 2 hours. I'm terrible at time limits. Let's rapid fire through the rest of these super chats.
Rapid fire. Malcolm Davis. There was supposed to be a Silence of the Lambs-like scene with Batman asking the Joker for advice on catching Riddler.
I would actually prefer that more.
I would have too. Yeah, and it could have just been a, lengthy scene, but the only time you see him, and just been handled really thoughtfully with a lot of weight. And if you didn't want to show him too much and have him mostly in shadow, you still could have done that.
Yeah. And that would have established the world a little bit more. I know he's in Arkham, but we don't know
so we have
anything
a sense
about
of
him.
what year one was like.
Yeah. We don't know how established of a Joker he is, how far a Joker he is.
I'm not even sure if Arkham is an asylum.
It's a state hospital.
Okay. I guess they just don't call them that anymore. Because again, we're going to modernize, but not modern yet.
Which is strange that they put the Riddler, who's a serial killer, directly into Arkham.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's true. I think you'd have a trial first.
So a Pat Bat trilogy, yes, no, maybe?
Well, apparently they're definitely doing a trilogy.
I heard that's what they're doing.
Yes, indeed. Roger Lee, complaining Batman failed in stopping Riddler's plot is like complaining that Indiana Jones had no effect in the outcome of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, it depends on what kind of movie you're expecting and what kind of movie you decide this is. I mean, at the end of the day, is it a vigilante movie or is it a superhero movie? Is kind of how I would answer that. Like, Raiders isn't a movie that says this guy is... I mean, he's the hero in the sense that he's the main character, but it establishes its own rules. Even though it's also cribbing on serials and stuff. A thing like that, that's kind of making up some rules, can get away with the hero not exactly being the hero. This is again proto-hero, which is why I don't have a problem with it.
Very much a vigilante turning into a hero at the end, which. I was kind of confused on, why is the Riddler upset when the Joker talks to him? He kind of got what he wanted.
He did, but
he wanted Batman to be his best pal.
Yeah, he's upset because Batman's not what he thought Batman was. It's a never meet your heroes situation.
Yeah, I guess.
To the nth degree. That's really good. It's really good.
Oh, I want to see.
But you're right. Something about that scene, Kareem, does kind of play like Riddler, which is he wasn't locked up. They're kind of what do you think was going to happen? He did get picked up on purpose.
And this is part of the reason I want more traditional Riddler. Everyone should know my name and how smart I am and what I did.
Did he think he was going to escape somehow, or was he just this is my end game and I don't care what happens to me afterwards? Which would be an interesting parallel with Bruce Wayne, where Bruce also doesn't care what happens to him initially, But I don't know. Anyway, what's up?
I wanna see the kids like novel. This movie.
Well, how do you guys feel about the fact that we're still kind of sort of selling this to kids? Like,
yeah, all the toys and stuff.
I mean, not as hard as we have even the Dark Knight movies. Like, it's, I don't know if there are like little kids storybooks and stuff. I haven't looked into that. If there are, I cry foul on that. But the Lego kits are weird. Like,
well, Legos are for adults as much as they are for kids these days.
I guess, but like, there's a part of me, because I've always said you can do a real dark Batman movie that's just for adults, and that's fine. Even though this doesn't encroach enough onto our territory that would have had to been R, it pushes right up against that. I kind of wish it was just to say who the audience is for, because everything's PG-13 now. Like, I heard somebody the other day say, well, at least this used PG-13 for what it was originally intended for. And that is nice. That is really classy. But there's going to be this ambiguity now of, like, is this for children? It's like, you know, all the Marvel movies are PG-13, so you don't even think to not take your kids. You have to think to not take your kids to this. And people aren't going to, because it's a Batman movie that's not rated R.
This is what I was talking about with the tightrope realistic thing and then the stylistic thing. I thought they should have just committed to the stylistic, just make this rated R. Like, it's so heavy, it's so booty. And when Batman hits somebody, they should not get up. Like, I kind of felt like I had that sort of thing.
And isn't it interesting, though, that, like Nolan, we still see no blood?
Yeah, I really appreciated, I had the opposite. I really appreciated how classy they were, and it was, like, not really violent. He's just punching people, but Captain America punches people, and there's more blood in the Captain America movies coming out of people's mouths and stuff.
The first guy with the clown makeup, I mean, he just demolishes. And I kind of felt like we needed more of that.
But with subject matter and stuff, it does push the envelope even harder than the Dark Knight movies. I saw a really amusing cartoon the other day, and I forget what the framework of it was, but it was a meme. And it was somebody going, in 1989, we got finally the dark, edgy Batman movie. And then in 2005, we finally got the dark, edgy Batman movie. And it's 2022, and we finally got the dark, edgy Batman movie. It's great.
Yeah, it was a Watchmen meme, because it was...
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, it was... That's what it was. It was Kareem. It was Dr. Manhattan. And he was like, it is 1989. That's what it was. Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
Really funny. Yeah,
it's great. Robert Wilde, the flare scene.
Ryan Howard did drop an F-bomb. Yes, but you get one in PG-13 movies, and they get theirs out of the way in 5 minutes.
And it's the funniest thing ever.
Is it?
I remember it being the funniest thing ever.
That's also comic book accurate. Don't the Waynes get murdered around Halloween or November-ish?
I think so. Yeah, that rings a bell. Something else I liked about opening it on Halloween is that thematically, I just had this thought. Thematically, right out the gate, we're saying that Batman has not found himself yet, and he's just a guy playing dress-up.
Yeah. I wish the narration stuck through the whole film.
Yeah, I don't like the bookend because it's too typical and it spells things out a little bit. I didn't want the word hope to come up one time, man. Like, it's clear, it's there. I don't need that. I like the voiceover a lot at the beginning, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have had any at the end, but it got heavy-handed. Like,
oh yeah, that's what it is.
Not like the end of Dark Knight. It wasn't that heavy-handed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not effing Halloween. That's what it was. That's what it was.
People are listing violent things that happen. I'm not saying violent things didn't happen. I'm saying the way it was shot was classy. Where, like, I don't need to see him. I don't need to see the shot of his face as he's punching it in, but it's happening off camera. That's what I just meant.
I wanted to see that.
I don't like that stuff.
Yeah, I don't either. No, I'm glad that it was handled as classy as it was, but I think this exact movie could have gotten an R rating, and I don't know that people would have said, hey, why did it get an R? That could have had a PG-13. Like, would you have had to sit through a minute and, like, 19 seconds or whatever it was of that girl talking to Falcone and then getting strangled? Like in a Nolan movie, would you have gotten that? Like,
no.
That kind of thing by itself, it seems like it can push things over the line enough where you could expect an R rating.
Yeah. For some reason, that didn't get under my skin as much as Joker. Like, having that guy tied up on the screen and like going over and off camera, like cutting his face and him screaming in the background. That I still can't watch Dark Knight.
That's fair too. But Dark Knight got 2 or 3 of those, and this movie had like 10 or 12. Is the difference?
The Riddler 1984 rat.
You do,
thing
Brian. You
with the
really
commissioner?
do. Sorry. What, Kareem?
The Riddler 1984 reference, like rat thing, with it eating his face. Just, oh my god.
I'm so dumb.
Also...
That is a 1984 reference. Duh. Anyway.
It also might just be because it's a more heightened, like stylized world. But because Nolan's trying to make it so realistic that when that like literal stuff comes in, it messes with me more. I don't know.
I love it so much. Real quick, I love it so much when somebody does this. Mutale just came in. He hasn't been here the whole time. He goes, "I just got here. What did I miss?" 2 full hours of a spoiler cast. He's like, "What did I miss?" Somebody's gonna bullet point it for him.
Yeah, we can't really like give you the bullet points.
That's great.
Roger Lee. The first live-action Batman film since 1966 to have the big 4 in the same film: Riddler, Catwoman, Penguin, and Joker.
I said that,
United
and I love
Underworld assemble.
United Underworld, yeah.
I wonder if that was intentional or if that just was a happy accident.
The bat shark repellent is missing.
I want to think that was on purpose. It might not be, but there are so many references to every other Batman thing that
I think this is the first time the Penguin is tall. Aside from the Telltale games.
I think that's true. Yeah, but in Telltale, he's like 17 years old.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, two last super chats from the Sixth Ranger.
He's tall in Gotham, right?
No, he's diminutive in Gotham, and he's got a limp. And he murders people for sandwiches, but that's neither here nor there. Go ahead, DJ.
The Sixth Ranger says, Jayson looks like a young Robert Pattinson / Batman.
That's what I said.
I told him he should go as Bruce Wayne in this movie for Halloween this year.
Yeah, with the eye makeup and stuff.
Oh yeah, you should.
Oh my gosh, I should put
awesome.
the eye makeup.
That would be the thing that would make the whole costume, because otherwise you're just random emo kid, and you're pretty much that anyway. Maybe not random. I mean, I find you somewhat original, but...
Just play the Kurt Cobain music.
Yeah, you just go around with a boombox under the bridge.
And the last one from Sixth Ranger, thoughts on not exploring his chest bat emblem?
I mean, they explored it.
He used it.
He used it.
It's weird that there's no discussion about it, I guess, but I also sort of like the subtlety in simplicity of just that's where the Batarang is, and he doesn't talk about it.
Well, we didn't even talk about like why he uses bats.
No. Is that what they're... I thought he just said the chest emblem, but yeah, it is weird that it never comes up why it's bats.
Also,
I kind of assumed
that logo is just the Arkham logo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Like the Arkham Origins kind of thing?
Yeah.
I kind of assumed he just chose bats to scare the hell out of people.
Yeah, it's just, I think the thing is there's a tradition with this.
Duct-taped masks, apparently.
There's a tradition with this where we're used to Bruce having an impetus for this, where he doesn't just pick it out of thin air. Like usually, you obviously the Begins thing explores it like crazy, but in comics it's very often like, I was sitting in my study one night and a bat went through the window. Yeah, and so we're just used to there being something, and it does scream a little bit of that Spider-Man thing where like we've seen it 1,000 times. We don't.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, I don't feel like I'm missing a huge part of his motivation by not knowing why he thought of that. And it could have just been as simple, Jayson, as his going to the abandoned train station and going, there's a lot of bats down here.
There was a ton of bats. So many bats.
And another really funny thing in the movie is when...
I'm breathing bat feces all day long. I don't know how I'm not dead, but...
Maybe he was lifted up into a tunnel by bats.
Oh, God.
Only in his dreams, DJ.
It's when they, it's about to cut to the TV, and Thomas Wayne is like, Thomas Wayne agrees with this, or like something like
That was unintentionally really funny.
Yeah.
Like before you even see it, Thomas Wayne. I'm Thomas Wayne. I approve this message.
Yeah.
And I was just cracking up. I don't even know why. That was really funny. Oh, I should have said this earlier, but one thing I really appreciate about this movie narratively is the no flashback rule at all. It's not just that we don't go back to the Wayne's murder. There are no flashbacks in this movie.
Yeah, remember in old movies when we just had characters tell stories like Alfred does? Like, we used to just do that. We don't have to show everything.
Yeah, we don't have to interrupt the narrative to go into story that's not really the story we're telling, and it, you know, that's used as a crutch so much, and you get to see plenty of Thomas Wayne. We just cleverly figure out ways to get him on screen in present day on TVs and stuff. It is a little bit weird that you have one non-linear bit in this movie when Alfred blows up, and then we find out that happened an hour earlier. I don't know about that. That seemed
kind of felt like it was cheating a little bit.
That seemed a little gimmicky to me.
Yeah. 2 more super chats just came in. Robert Wildcap, did you think the adrenaline shot was Venom? Da-da-da-da-dum.
No, in fact, I didn't even have the thought of that until Austin mentioned it to me, and he was like, "It could be that whatever that is later on we use to create Bane and do the Venom thing or whatever." But we talked about this a little bit earlier. I don't think it probably is, but it's still really weird that it's bright green liquid.
Batman using Venom is pretty much early on in his career, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Before we're introduced to Bane. So it could be.
It might just be that reference, yeah.
I think it would be super cool and classy to do a story about Venom without Bane in it.
Yeah. And like, how far is too far?
Yeah.
Like in the Batman TV show where Joker takes it.
It would be, but it would be another way to...
I actually like that show.
So do I.
Yeah, we just did a marathon of it on Friday, and
cool.
we watched the zombie episode. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in anything.
Is that the Solomon Grundy episode or no?
No, it's the episode.
Doesn't it remind you of Endgame from Scott Snyder, Cap?
I didn't have that thought, but now that you say that, sure. No, DJ, it's this really cool, crazy episode where I'll just mention this really quick, where Hugo Strange is trying to make zombies out of the whole city, and he gets Bruce Wayne, or he gets Batman to think that he's already done that. Spoilers for that episode. But the whole episode, you think that it's a zombie apocalypse, and it turns out that Batman's trying to find the cure for the zombie virus, and he gets what he thinks is the cure, but it's actually the virus itself, and he's hallucinating, like he's on fear toxin or something, that everybody's zombies, and it's such a cool reveal at the end. And then it turns out that the reason the zombies are fast is because they're not actually zombies, and it's just like Batgirl and Robin trying to prevent him from letting the time. It's so good. It's like over the edge. Somebody mentioned this the other day. It's like over the edge if it actually happened. Anyway,
The show's underrated in places.
it was super freaking cool. What were we talking about?
I have another super chat from Checkers the Inventor.
He says we missed some super chats of his at the beginning.
Yeah, he says they're at the very beginning that were lost. Was that like way at the beginning?
Maybe so. Yeah, if you leave super chats before we start recording and before we start broadcasting, and there are lots and lots of comments, they disappear at a certain point.
Yeah, it's really annoying that I can't go back to those.
But if you have those checkers, just copy and paste them in the comments there, and at DJ, and then we'll read them.
I'll read them
Don't feel the need to do another super chat for them.
Can you guys all complain to YouTube that they can just leave the chat instead of making those disappear? Because that's really annoying.
It sucks. Well, and the thing is, if once the thing is finished and you can go back and watch it later, you'll have those again. But right now we can't look at them. There's no way to do it.
Can't go back in time.
Robert Wildcap is finally seeing how awesome the Batman show is. What I'm discovering about the Batman is that those people want to make a horror show, and that's what they're best at, man. Because I didn't like anything about that show until I watched the Dracula movie, and I was like, maybe there's something here, and that's like really gothic and creepy, and like there's some legitimately, scary stuff in that, but it's also thematically great. And then I saw that episode. It's one of the best episodes of that show. And I'm like, okay, well, they just want to make horror Batman, and that's what they should have made.
Well, and Doctor Strange is, or not, yeah, well, technically, but Strange is great in that show.
Not John Kelly. I complain to YouTube all the time.
Oh yeah, they saying it was some before the stream started. Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
guys, I can't.
that's what I'm saying. So some like half an hour, 45 minutes before the stream started. Hopefully he is still watching and can put those in. I was going to end a while ago, but we'll go ahead and wait for him. Any other major things we haven't tackled yet while we're waiting?
The salesman in the chat says, "What about bulletproofness?"
I didn't have a problem with it because, and we didn't talk about this, that's a thing that's heavily influenced by Arkham. And
yeah,
I mean, he's got that armor. He's lucky that people keep shooting him right in the chest, I guess.
Yeah, like
shoot him in the face,
the mouth. Yeah, I kind of didn't like that. It wouldn't have bothered me if they didn't keep doing it so many times, but they keep doing it like throughout the whole movie, and I'm like, that makes it a little too easy for him. Like, he doesn't even have to move.
So I love the way the suit looks, but I'm also like, really, we're doing black armor again after Nolan?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
this could have
disappointed by
easily gotten away with doing the gray and blue or gray and black suit.
And that's yet another, I mean, we're just a broken record, Kareem, but that's yet another place where it's like, it's got to be realistic. So armor. But it looks so heavy, I don't know how you'd move in it. Like, I still have that.
Really? I thought he looked really agile.
What's weird is I had it less in action scenes and more when he was just walking around.
I think that's just intentional. I think that's just how he just walks all like.
It was so surreal.
God, I'm top heavy. I'm about to fall over.
It was so surreal and like sort of a treat as a Batman fan to see him walking among police.
I know. That was
very...
And in the first 5 minutes of the movie, no less, we're introduced to him almost that way. The second scene with him.
Oh, I want to talk about that scene really quickly because that was another scene where like this was so untraditional superhero movie. We're like, oh, this is gonna be an action scene. Nope, no action scene. He just flies away and it's done. My wife went to the bathroom right at that scene, and she was like, she came back and she's like, okay, tell me what I missed. I was like, nothing. He just ran through some rooms and then got to the roof and then flew away in a wingsuit. That's literally all you missed.
AMC, but Kareem, it actually is gray and black armor. Parts of it are technically gray, but they don't photograph that way. Like it looks like black on black through most of that movie.
Or yeah, Mutala, yeah, this is my favorite Batman movie.
Which he wasn't saying when we saw it the other day.
Yeah.
He wasn't even saying in the theater after the movie. It's like, you've processed this.
Well, I also kind of just wanted to keep that secret until the Spoilercast.
Oh man, you're like the actors in No Way Home, where you're just like blatantly lying to me until we get to the main event.
Well, I told you I liked it better this time.
Like Holland, like
but
I straight up asked you, is this your favorite now? And you said no.
You did?
Yes.
It takes time.
Yeah, no, I did have to process it, but like
now
still.
the other Spider-Mans from the other franchises are not in this movie. I'm Tom Holland.
All right, I do have some input from Checkers. He doesn't have the exact super chats still, but he says, I don't have them anymore. I was just saying that the world was very well set up. Yes, and I said something about the Batman-Catwoman chemistry was minimal, but I think that was because Batman was kind of alien until the end.
You know what, though? It's still present enough that I bought everything about that relationship. And in 2022, because I've been complaining about this, I really appreciated that they were allowed to just have a full-on romance, because it seems like lately a lot of movies want to avoid that for whatever reason, whereas like people aren't allowed to like fall in love in movies anymore. Like, yeah, tell me I'm paranoid. I've been seeing this a lot in things, and I really appreciated that. Something else I appreciated, too, again, because this movie is very modern, and I'm not saying that it's not progressive or whatever, but I appreciated that it was okay for, maybe I'll get flack for saying this, I feel like we push back so hard sometimes against traditional conventions that we go, people are going to think that we're sexist if we ever let men save women anymore. That's the thing I keep seeing in things. This movie did not have that. It's a tete-a-tete thing back and forth. They keep saving each other. He'll save her in one scene, she saves him in another scene. It's not that she's not a strong female character. It's not that she's a lowly woman and is weak, and so she needs a man to save her. It's that human beings are frail and fallible, and there are places where we need help, and he does come in and save her sometimes. She also saves him at times. That was a thing I appreciated. It felt real. That's what would happen.
Yeah, and also to his question, I would say that the chemistry was minimal. I would say that he was intentionally trying not to connect with her and pushing her away because he doesn't want to be close to anyone because of all the stuff that he's been through.
Yeah.
But he could see it in his eyes
that
he was very still into her, but he was like intentionally trying to keep her at a distance, which I thought worked great.
It felt like a chapter 1 in a long story with them. It was so thematically like rich of like Bruce, Selina, and Edward being these like traumatic children of Gotham,
and orphans
they,
all on different...
they all evolve in different trajectories. And it's made like a point that they go separate ways at the end. Yeah,
I really liked the symbolism of that shot at the end, and it's kind of sad. But I also really like that we are with them writing together for a while, where they talk like we're not going to see each other again, and then they write together, and then it's nice because it's an opportunity for change that he doesn't take, right? Like, he could have... She invited him to come with her. Like, he could have kept going that way. And they both know what he's going to do, but there's that moment of hesitation, and it's lovely, and it's romantic, and... Yeah, it's the best romance in a superhero movie in a very long time. I'll say since Deadpool. I think it's the best romance in it. It's maybe one of the only romances in a superhero movie since Deadpool, because we don't do them anymore.
And it has one of my favorite Batman things from the comics, which Bruce always says, "It's a fool's errand what I'm doing. Like, it's not going to work, but I'm still going to do it."
Yeah.
Like, I can't stop all of crime, but I'm going to die trying.
And that felt like an intentional contradiction to like Nolan's take on Batman, where it was like the last version was a Batman that wanted to stop at some point, and this one knows he can. Right. At least from Dark Knight on. Because it's important to note that the end of Begins is a lot more traditional Batman. Like, simultaneously, Rachel says, "This is your face, the not your face, your Bruce Wayne face, the mask is," and then also, I don't know that there will be a time when you don't need Batman. And we get away from all of that immediately afterwards, which is what this very much is.
Yeah. And then his last super chat from Checkers, he said, was about Gordon. I really liked that Batman and Gordon's relationship. It was the first time in live action that they could actually sit down and have a coffee together, like in TAS.
I agree with that.
I wish he called him Jim.
Yeah.
They were so great together.
And they've been together long enough, he could have already been doing that. That's fair. Yeah. Although you got the sense... I wasn't sure how many actual meetings they had.
It sort of feels like they know each other really well.
That's what I liked, is the chemistry was so good that we didn't even have to talk about how they met or anything. They were just like
it's great.
Such good friends. And they had to know each other for a while because they set up the bat signal together.
Yeah, I sort of wish Gordon would have mentioned his family, though, so we would have got some other dimension of his personal life.
Yeah, and it's not a real young Gordon.
Yeah.
So there's every reason to expect he could already have a teenage daughter, or she's like 10, but like
And that goes along with the Joker thing. Is like, I'm glad, it's probably a good thing that it didn't bring those up, because you don't want to show kid actors and then in like 3 years when we make the next movie have to recast those actors and all that stuff.
That's true.
It's like the same thing with the Joker. Like,
but
don't
there
show
could have been
until you have them realized and stuff.
There could have been a line of dialogue about it.
Absolutely. They probably just haven't even figured whatever they want to do with that stuff yet. But well, that is all I've got, fellas.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Jayson, thanks for being a trooper, because I know it's well past your bedtime. Yeah. Kareem, thanks for joining us, man. And
absolutely,
come back real soon. Actually, Kareem is going to come back real soon. We're going to be doing Nightfall in the not-too-distant future together. But come back.
We're going to finally review Nightfall, because you were trying to do it some other way.
That's true.
Oh, just bring up those sore wounds, Jayson.
Yeah, thanks, man. Dude. I already have a Nightfall tattoo, and I haven't even reviewed Nightfall yet.
It is.
But yeah, we're gonna do the.
Why does it have
first...
a Velociraptor on it?
It's not a Velociraptor. That's the animatronic T-Rex that's in Batman's Batcave.
Oh, is that thing? I thought that was a Velociraptor.
Yeah, where was that?
Oh, yeah, that's why you like Night.
Yeah, my favorite prop is the big penny for no reason.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to get one of those to put in my bunker, but I can't find one that's large enough.
Yeah, you can only get them that small.
Anyway, real quick, Bob the Hun, thoughts on Riddler's scheme being a rehash of Ledger's Joker? I don't see it, but a lot of people feel that way. It is only in the sense...
I'm hearing a lot about that.
I think that he gets arrested on purpose. That's the main thing that they would have in common, I guess.
I feel like just because this is a more violent and serial killer-esque version of the Riddler, that we're getting those comparisons. These movies are completely different to me. Just the ways in which they're like constructed and like engineered.
I actually like that this Riddler seemed more realistic and like scatterbrained, and it kind of seemed like he was okay with being captured, but he didn't literally like lead them there. They actually did. Someone, it just happened to see him go into that thing, and they found him. Whereas the Joker is like is like Jack Sparrow, where he's just like so like everything works out so perfectly, even to an unrealistic degree sometimes.
Yeah.
This guy was
He's
much
very
more
much
just
like a storm.
Yeah.
Like a force of nature, in The Dark Knight. But yeah, I agree. I think they were going for the 7 John Doe thing, where he just turns himself in, or he just happens to get caught.
He's not as He's not like, he doesn't have everything planned out to the 500 steps like that Joker does.
Well, guys, we've really got to end things now. So thanks a bunch for watching, and we'll see you again real soon with more videos and live shows here on Geek Evolution. I was Captain Logan, and Jayson, thanks for staying up with us. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah.
And you brought lots of great stuff to the table. Thanks for doing it. And Kareem, come back for another movie review at some point. And DJ, I'll see you Thursday, man.
See you Thursday.
Later, folks.